So boys, here we are, rebuilding Parma. Everybody who voted on the community page on the poll, appreciate it. It was a bit of a landslide. 58% of people wanted to see Parma be rebuilt. Obviously, look, growing up, I'm an old man, look, but Parma was always in and around there, were fighting. They always had really, really good players. Obviously, they fell off pretty hard. I don't know if it's due to financial reasons or not. I'm sure a few of you will let me know in the comments down below. But they've had a bit of a hard time the last while. Like in the past, they have had some fantastic players like Gianfranco Zola. They've had Buffon, Juan Sebastian Veron, Lilian Thuram, who was an absolute monster. And then one that I think everybody loved, big Hernan Crespo. But they have had a plethora of really, really good players. Obviously, sold a lot of those players on to like bigger clubs and stuff. But yeah, if you go to their trophy cabinet, it's not looking great. As you come over here, obviously they have a decent amount of trophies, but a lot of it's not sort of like top tier trophies. So European Cup, last time they won that was 1993. The Europa League, 95 and 99. The Super Cup, 1993. The last time they won the cup was 2002, which to be honest, no, I mean, it's still a long time ago, but it's relatively recent. All the rest of these are kind of a wee bit sort of lower league in the other cups and stuff. But the main one is obviously never won a Serie A. Never won a Champions League. So I would like to try and obviously rectify that. How long this save's going to take. A lot of you were saying, obviously, with the Deportivo save, I did 5 seasons. And in hindsight, we should have played on for a few years and tried to get him a couple more trophies. But I just felt the save was in a really, really good spot and I just wanted to leave. But with the Parma save, I feel like I have to win the Serie A with it, right? I feel like that's something that we at least have to do. Champions League, obviously would love to win that, but like it's a wee bit of a, you need a very good team to win the Champions League. But the Serie A, I feel like we can compete. Obviously not right away, because if I'm being truthful, their team's not great. We do have a good, very, very young keeper in Zion Suzuki. Look, he's only 20 years old, not currently playing at a Serie A level yet, but has a decent amount of potential, and in real life, actually a really good keeper. We do also have a very, very solid left back in Amelia Valeri. Another one, look, dribbling and first touch are good. 14 crossing, you know my love for people who can just whip the ball. But on top of that, an amazing mentality. Really, really enjoys the big games and super consistent. He's also only 24 and he's Italian. The back line is where things are a little sort of, I feel like we need some better centre backs. We do have Lautaro Valente, who won 6'2", left-footed, really, really good mentality, super consistent. But on top of that, concentration is a little low. He's a little injury prone, and he's only currently playing at a Serie A level and doesn't have a ton of room to improve. Good thing is, he's 24, he's 6'2", so all in all, look, a pretty decent centre back. But we want to start pushing up to try and win the Serie A. Somewhere we're probably going to need to upgrade. Then another one who's actually relatively decent is Alessandro Cercati, an Australian. Not too often you see actually good Australian players. Right-footed, good mentality, super consistent. He's only 19, 6'3", a wee bit more of like a no-nonsense centre back. As you can see, first touch and dribbling, not fantastic. His passing technique and vision are not great. Honestly, I don't know. I think if I'm being realistic, I would like to see him as a backup, but his mental stats are very, very good. He'd be a good DM if he had a wee bit more ball control. Then another one who's actually relatively decent is Enrico Del Prato. Another one, 23 years old. He's Italian, 6 foot. Honestly, pretty good all round. One of those like sort of really good at everything, master nothing type players, but has a wee bit of room to improve as well. And he is playing at a Serie A level. He's also Italian, which is going to help us out. Good mentality, super consistent. So we do have some good Italian players in the team. Obviously, look, we're going to need to just keep upgrading the squad as we go along. Probably one of the strangest players in the team, and one I'm actually excited to kind of use a little bit. I wish he was a little bit younger, is Milian Duric. I think they bought him for like $1.5 million, didn't it? 1.7 million, yeah. So they bought him, look, 6'6", 20. I honestly can't remember the last time I seen somebody that was this good in the air with 20 strength. How many players, I'm actually really interested, how many players in the game have 20 strength? And if you go in and look at the list, there's not a lot. Like obviously Romelu Lukaku is one, he's an absolute unit. He's actually, oh my god, look at the VAT, 157 to 197 million. But like I said, not too many players in the game of 20 strength. So we do have an absolute unit in the team. Obviously, I wish he was a little bit younger because his physical stats will start degrading. But he's good natural fitness, good jump and reach, 16 balance. And it's one thing I never understand with Football Manager. If you have 16 balance, how's your agility terrible? Because they're kind of tied to each other, your agility and your balance. It's all part of like the same thing. So I never understand how but he's got 20 head and determination is high. Mental stats are good. He works hard. His teamwork is fantastic. He's 6'6". He's just an absolute unit of a man. Like I said, just wish he was a little quicker. say like 12 and 12 would have been good, and agility was a little bit better, and he was a little bit younger because he's an exciting player. We also do have another one in the team who's actually really exciting as well, is Pontus Almqvist. Both can play with both feet, 6'2", 23 years old, very, very quick. Another one, really, really good agility, has 9 balance. I don't understand it, I really don't. But on top of that, really, really good flair, good dribble and good first touch. Mental stats are kind of okay, but look, like I said, we're playing as Parma, beggars can't be choosers. I think a really, really good play for us. And as you can see, it does say he could improve significantly, so we could work on a few things. Another one in the team that actually seems pretty decent is Dennis Mann. He's a Romanian, good mentality, super consistent, 6 foot. Look, doesn't enjoy the big games, but I feel like this trait isn't as bad as the inconsistency trait. This may be just like a placebo thing, like my personal, it's just what I've noticed like through the game, it seems a little bit better. Look, having any of the two of them is not great, but like if I had to have one, doesn't enjoy the big games a little easier. But this one has high determination, like I said, he's quick, good agility, good balance, good dribbling, good finishing, good first touch. Passing is relatively solid, technique is good. So he's one that could be pretty decent for us. And we also do have a good player in Simon Shom. I'm not too sure what way you pronounce that. Good mentality, super consistent, enjoys the big games, 6'2". The good thing about Parma is they have a lot of really sort of like big physical players, which is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, he also has 15 strength. He's pretty good all around, good marking, good passing, good technique, good tackling. So yeah, he's going to fit in pretty well to the team. But I feel like this is the formation I'm going to play. I don't think I've ever played a 4-2-4. I know they're really exciting. You can score a lot of goals, and that's kind of what I want to do. I want to make this save fun, and I feel like just going at people. We've got the players for it, so why not? Obviously, you know my love for playing 5 at the back, but I just feel like when you're simulating, it's really difficult to get a 5 at the back to work really well, or 3 centre backs, or whatever way you want to look at it. Because if I'm playing with that formation, it seems to work out pretty well. Simulating the games makes it a little more difficult, so I'm going to stick with this. I think a 4-2-4 is pretty exciting, something a little different for the Italian league. Obviously, I could go and play like a 4-2-3-1. It's kind of how the Italians kind of set up and play most of the time. So we're going to break the mold a wee bit and go a wee bit more exciting. But obviously, we're going to need to bring some players in. We do have 15 million in the transfer kitty, which is absolutely fantastic. We've no wages, so we're probably going to have to push a wee bit of that transfer kitty into the wages. But as you can see, I've left a few positions. I feel like we do need a right back, and we're going to need another striker. Obviously, I would like to upgrade one of the 2 centre backs. We're not going to have enough cash to upgrade both of them, and our reputation isn't high enough to attract a bunch of really, really good players on loan. I'm going to go have a wee look around, but obviously, we need to have a wee look at the staff as well while we're here. I'm sure the staff is not fantastic. Fabio Polici, look, I'm not going to lie to you, he's not great. We're going to need to upgrade him. And with regards to the coaches, he's not great either. And this is one thing I always do. I always like to show you, because everybody always, if I leave this out of videos, people are like, Mark, how do you get like all the upgraded like regen stuff? So if I leave it out of a video, I feel like then I have to explain it in the comments. So right, first thing you'll do is go to the coaching attributes here, and you're go over to the far right hand side and go to tactical coaching, the TCO, and just click on that and make sure the highest number is up the top. And the next thing you're gonna do is go and look at attacking and defense, and then just kind of scroll down until you find good numbers. Obviously, with us being a Parma, we're going to be very, very limited on the types of players or coaches we're going to be able to bring in. As you can see, this guy has 15 and 15. He's ahead of youth development. That's what you want. You want them to be ahead of youth development. When I click on them, regen staff, as you can see, absolutely ridiculous. Generally, most of them are happy to be coaches. You will get a few of them that are just want to be head of youth development. I'm actually going to make this guy my assistant manager because he's very, very good. And that's all I do. I just scroll down. There's another guy below him, 17 and 14. Carl, another one, regen staff, really, really good, wants to be a coach. And this is all I do. I just rinse and repeat this and just scroll down. There's another guy, 15 and 15, Jorg Bernat, another one that's really, really good, happy to be a coach. And like I said, we don't have an amazing reputation, but you can still attract like decent coaches. Obviously, for like your fitness coaches and your goalkeeping coaches, you just literally click on the goalkeeping coach, and this is pretty simple. But to get the coaches, I highly recommend using the regen staff. Obviously, if you don't want to use the regen staff, that is perfectly fine. Everybody plays the game how they want. I know a few people personally that don't like to use regen staff, and that's perfectly fine. Just play the game however the fuck you want. But that's how I go about doing it. So I'm going to go get his goalkeeping coach, get his set pitch coach, and some fitness coaches. And yeah, I'm going to go and try and do some transfers because surprisingly, do have some money, which is nice. So boys, we were able to get some players at the door and make a wee bit more cash. And obviously, there's a few positions, like I said, I want to strengthen the team. I think we've done pretty well. So one of the first players out the door was Big Adrian. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his second name. One I actually wanted to keep because he's 6'3", can play with both feet, good mentality, but unfortunately the Premiership came knocking, so he wanted to leave. So we get 2.5 million, working its way up to 4 million, which isn't bad. He wasn't valued that high. Obviously he's a little more expensive now in the Premiership, but unfortunately one I wanted to keep. He's still young, but look, it's the Premiership. There was one other player that we sold, but I actually can't find him in the transfer list. I'll look him up. I can't remember his actual name. It was just this little squad player. We get rid of him for like 1 million up front, working its way up to like 4 million. So one of the first people that I actually brought into the club was Andrea Carboni. Centre back wise, I'm just not comfortable with the wee young 19-year-old is very good. He has potential, but I wanted to bring someone in who's Italian, also 6'2", just a way better centre back. So I went and got Andrea Carboni. I feel like this is a really, really good signing for us. 4.5 million, working its way up to 8 million. Look, 6'2", Italian, 22 years old, got a good mentality. He's super consistent. He's left-footed. He's pretty good all round. And for such a small price, I think we got a really, really good centre back. And another player I brought in is Sebastiano Esposito. Obviously, you all know my love for the other Esposito brother. But I brought this brother in. Look, it got him for a total of 5 million, which I think is an absolute steal. He's a really, really good player. 6'2", right-footed, technically 13 dribbling, 13 finishing, 16 first touch, 16 penalty taking, good passing, good tactique, mental stats are good, physical stats are good. Obviously not the quickest in the world. That is something I am going to work on. I've already started working on that. Is to try and get his pace up just a little bit. But look, even if he stays like that, he's a really, really good footballer. And for 5 million, he's 21, he's Italian, he's got a good mentality. The type of players we want to have at the club. And the next person I brought in is Lorenzo Colomba. This is going to be our inside forward on the right hand side. Basically the wee guy that used to play here, Man, is the guy that I sold for 1 million, working its way up to 4. I can't remember who we sold him to. Look, if I get the memory of a goldfish. But look, this is the guy I brought in to replace him. Obviously this is only in on a season loan, 4.1 million for the season. A little expensive, but he's a very, very good player. And then in his contract as well, he's an optional fee for 6 million. This is one I would like to bring in. 21, he's Italian, he can play with both feet, he's 6 foot, got an amazing mentality, super consistent, pretty good all round, and hopefully if he gets some football this year, he wants to come and sign for us. Then the next one I brought in is Giovanni Fabian. This is going to be one to play in the midfield on attack. I feel like the players that we're playing there are pretty decent, but like I want someone with a wee bit more grit. You know my love for big physical players. He's 6'3", an absolute unit. We've only got him in on loan for the season, obviously 1.5 million for the season. But he does have a 12.5 million optional fee. 12.5 million for us may be a little outside of our ballpark, but obviously it also depends how well we do this season, how much money we're going to get. But this is one I'm really, really excited for. Giovanni Fabian, I think, is an absolutely fantastic player. Not a lot of people talk about him. He is very, very good. He's kind of like Frattesi that plays for Inter. If you're looking at a player that's kind of like Frattesi, but just a little cheaper, he ends up very, very good. And then, of course, I couldn't do a save in Italy without bringing in the other Esposito brother. Look, Francesco Pio Esposito is my favorite wonder kid striker in the game, and this kid is absolutely disgusting. Obviously, brought him in on a season loan, 675,000. The optional fee is only 2 million, so you know he's going to be the first person I go for. So it means now we have both Esposito brothers in the door, and this is what our team looks like. One in Suzuki, Valeri Carboni, Cercati. Cercati is currently upset because who was it? Brentford came in and offered like 6.2 million. He's valued at 15 to 17. So they come in and offered. I rejected it. I'm not going to sell him for a ridiculous amount of money because he's 6'3". He's really good. He's got potential, and him and Carboni beside each other would actually be a really, really good pairing over time. So he's not going anywhere. So Carboni and Sergio Del Prato, I'm going to have to play it right back because obviously we do have a wee bit of cash left over, but I do want to keep that to try and bring in some of the players that we've brought in on loan. Obviously, Esposito is going to be the first person we go for, but he's another one. Look, is he a fantastic right back? Nobody can play there. I don't have to train him. He's Italian. He's only 23. Then I'm going to move Som into the DM, Fabian as a segundo volante on attack, Colombo and Esposito on each side, Juric and Esposito up top. Obviously, there's a bunch of really, really good young players this club, but there's also a decent amount of dead weight. But the only problem is with the dead weight in the club, they've only recently signed, so I can't get rid of them, so I'm going to have to wait till January. But this is the team I would put out. I don't think the assistant manager is going to put out the same team. So this is the team the assistant manager would put out. Honestly, it's very, very similar. So the only people we're going to have to lock in is going to be this for Fabian in the middle of the park, Esposito and Colombo, and then Esposito up the top. So that's not too bad. If we've only got to lock 4 players in, I'm pretty happy with that. But all in all, boys, look, that's everybody in the door and everybody out the door. Oh, yes. For staff, I was able to find us an absolute banger head of youth development. Is this guy Lorenzo Faris, who is really, really good. Working with youngsters, 20, 18 potential ability or player ability, and then 19 for player potential. Our staff also looks very, very good. I'm still trying to bring a few people in. Like I said, we've got a bunch of fitness coaches who are really, really good. 19. I also got us a good set piece coach. As you can see, he's got 18, which is absolutely fantastic. So all in all, look, that's everybody in the door with regards to players and staff. I think the team, I think we've done very, very well. And like I said, because we've got a few players in on loan, I am going to try and sort of get those contracts. But then we also have our purchase signs in January. So I'll bring this back in January for anybody available for a purchase signs. I always say that and then I never do. And I just show you at the next transfer window. Hopefully, with regards to youth intakes, we can get a good player through one of the youth intakes. You know, my terrible luck with youth intakes and these rebuilds, I just don't really seem to get a bunch of really good players. I end up just making my own youth academy with players that I buy. I think we all kind of have to do the same. Look, unless you've got the editor on, you're not going to be able to have a ton of really good players. But boys, that's everybody in the door for regards to staff and players. Look, I think our team is in a really, really good position. As you can see, we do have good reputation, good training facilities, and good youth recruitment or good youth facilities. I can't remember what it means when the stars are silver for youth recruitment. It says first class. Is this the potential of our youth recruitment? Maybe we've just upgraded. Is it just because we've came up from the Serie B to the Serie A, it hasn't went through yet? Obviously, this is something I'll keep an eye on and try and upgrade this if it's a wee bit lower, because I would like to try and get some good young players in through youth recruitment. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, you know what I do. I end up just building a really good youth system with bringing players in. But look, our media projection is to finish 17th, which is absolutely wild. Because if you go up in here, that means they predict us to be just outside of relegation. For me, I honestly believe we could finish anywhere from, I would say 8 to 12. I say 8 to 12 is really, really respectable. I think we've got a good enough team to be in here. Obviously, breaking in the top 6 teams is going to be a little rough. You got your Romas, your Atalantas, AC Milan, Napoli, Fiorentina, Lazio and stuff, and Juventus. There's a lot of really, really good teams in this league. So I would say 8 to 12 is a really, really good finish for us. I don't see us finishing away down here. We're too good for this league. We really, really are. With regards to us going down, I don't see us being relegated. So I think we're good that way. But boys, that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 1. So as you can see, we're about halfway through January. We did get our first player that ended up leaving. So Enrico Del Prato. Yeah, a lot of big teams come in for him. As you can see, he's went to Man United. Man United, Real Madrid, and Barcelona all come in for him. So yeah, it was going to be a little difficult for us to keep him. I would have liked to get a wee bit more money, but it is what it is. Look, we got 9 million up front, working its way up to 11 million. So obviously now we're going to need a new right back. But I was actually really surprised. He was one, I was like, he's a pretty good player. But I didn't think Man United, Barcelona, and Real Madrid would have come in. So unfortunately, he's our first casualty this season. So then obviously with losing our right back, I was going to need to replace him to someone. So I went and got a Samuel Barandelli. This is one, he was transfer listed, a little upsetty spaghetti. Went and got him for a total of 5 million. Look, we lost our fullback. We're going to get what? 10 million, and we replaced him with 5 million. Obviously, this guy's a wee bit more technical, probably not as well rounded, but he's only 24. He's Italian, good mentality, enjoys the big games, he's consistent, and yeah, he's reasonably cheap. But in January, we did also lose a few other players as well. One of them was Hernani. This is one I was actually looking to get rid of. We have a lot of Brazilians and Argentinians in the squad, and obviously we can't register them all. So I went and got rid of him. Got a total of 3.2 million, working its way up to 4 million. So I think this is all in all a good deal. Like I said, I'm trying to get rid of a wee bit of the dead wood in the team, because obviously there's a lot of players I don't want to play. Either they're not good enough or they're on decent wages, and I'd just like to get them out the door. But a lot of them had just signed, so I had to wait till January to get rid of them. So he's one of the first ones out the door in January. And like I said, Dennis Mann, I was able to find him in the transfer list history. So he was one of the ones that ended up going out the door to Lille. Once again, not really one of the ones I wanted to get rid of, but he wanted to leave. So we got a total of 3.2 million, working its way up to 4. So like I said, all in all, this window between the summer transfer window and the January transfer window, we've made a decent amount of cash. Then another one out the door was a Valentino Mihalia. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Another one I just wanted to get out the door. Obviously, I don't think he's a fantastic player. He's not good enough to play. He's a good enough player for this team currently now, but where I want to take Parma, I wanted to get rid of him. So we got 3.1 million up front, working its way up to 3.9. So once again, look, we're just getting a wee bit more money every time we're selling people. But one person I did go and confirm the signing on was Lorenzo Columba. As you can see, is currently going to be at the squad. Obviously, he had that 6 million release clause. And then obviously, I'm going to work on the Esposito one, try and get the both of them in the door. If I can have both of the Esposito brothers and Colombo as like part of our front four, would be amazing. So then just before the transfer window ends, I was able to get rid of 2 other players. One of them is Lautaro Valente. Obviously, the centre back, look, he's decent. He's not going to get any better, and obviously with us bringing a centre back in, I would like to recoup a wee bit of that money. So we were able to sell him on for 2.4 million, working its way up to 3.1. And like I said, I'm just trying to cut the squad down and make a wee bit of cash. The next one I got out the door was Estevez. This is another one, like I said, a wee bit of dead weight in the squad. Got a total of 1.9 million for him. So like I said, we've done pretty well this window. So boys, we're at the end of season 1. Obviously for here, the youth intake was not great. Honestly, it wasn't bad. 3-star. Couple of decent, maybe potential players down the line. Obviously, we'll see them as we go through the save. But like I said, I wanted to sort of get into that. I think 8 to 12 was a realistic place for us to be. Obviously, I think with the players that we have, we could push up a lot higher. But it also just depends how well the players gel. Obviously, the tactic is solid. We all know 4-2-4s are really, really good. They're a high-scoring tactic. It's just whether or not we can stop leaking goals. And like I said, if the players gel together, we could do really, really well. But jump over and see how we did in the league. Things did not start off great at the start of the league. We ended up getting absolutely obliterated 8-2 by Parma. But look, I expected there to be a little bit of a sort of like integration period with regards to the tactic, the new players playing a new formation. I knew it's going to happen, but like 8-2 is a little rough. Things didn't get any better in our second game. We also got beat by Lazio. But look, I know we're playing the big boys and we're playing big teams, but like I would have wanted a little more fight. We then also took a 2-0 defeat to AC Milan. So the first 3 games, we had 3 defeats, which left us right at the bottom of the league table. It then took us the whole way to the start of the November to get a wee bit of rhythm going. We ended up beating Fiorentina 2-0. We ended up beating Roma 2-1. We had a really hard fought match against AC Milan. They beat us 3-2, but it was a lot better performance than we played at the start of the season. And probably one of our best performances this season. We actually ended up beating Napoli 2-0. So after all those performances, we finished second. I have no idea. Look, you know I'm always as honest as possible. My evaluation was 8 to 12. I thought, like I said, we could push a little higher if the players played well and gelled together. I was not expecting us to do this. Honestly, we could have been a little bit closer. We drew a couple of games at the end of the season, which I thought we should have won. But look, it is what it is. Finishing second is it's fucking insane. We're in the Champions League next year. Our team is not ready for the Champions League. Obviously, it depends once again how much money we get, how many players I can bring in and stuff. Like I said, we do have a few players that are already signed and ones that are signed for the future. But Esposito, 22 goals in the league. I did try to bring him in, and obviously we had that 2 million clause in his contract. He has no interest in signing for us, which is unfortunate, because if we had been able to get him in the door for 2 million, is an absolute fucking steal. It really, really is. He's a fantastic player. Then our new right back is in there for average ratings. Esposito's younger brother. Actually, hold on. Who is the younger out of the two? We'll have a wee look at that after. As far as I know, Sebastiano is a wee bit older. I think he's older by a few years. But he get 15 assists. Carboni is in there for yellow cards. We've nobody in the clean sheets and nobody in the player matches, but I'm perfectly fine. But finishing second is absolutely insane. I wouldn't have figured in my wildest dreams that we would have finished this far up the league. I really wouldn't have. Napoli have now won the league 2 years in a row, which no means starting to get a wee bit of dominance as well. But if you go over into the team overall stats, most points per game, as you can see, we're in there in second, right behind AC Milan. Most goals, we knew we were going to score a lot of goals because of this formation. We scored 97, the most in the league. We had the most shots, by about 100. Few shots against, we're not in there, but obviously with the formation we're playing, like I said, look, it's just we're kind of going after people. Then most clean sheets, we're not in there. Fewest conceded, we're not in there. But all in all, look, I'm not going to complain. An absolutely unreal season. 38 games played, 24 wins. 9 draws, 5 defeats. Probably some of those draws I would have said, like the Udinese, the Cremonese, the Lecce, the Como, Bologna, the Cremonese. Honestly, I would say about 5 of those draws we should be winning. And then obviously the defeats that we're up against, we get beat twice by AC Milan, Lazio, Juventus, Inter. Look, games I could expect to go anyway, us to lose. We had a 45 goal difference, which was second best in the league, and finished on 81 points. Boys, this is absolutely unreal. The fact that we're in Champions League football is massive for us. We're going to get a huge reputation boost. Also, the money you get for the Champions League, because even if we don't do great, you're getting a couple of million per match, which is absolutely unreal. I'm actually buzzing that we finished second. And like I said, it just depends what players we can bring in next year. And hopefully we can do a little bit better in this over the next couple of seasons. Say do better. We're finishing second, 4 points behind the champions. But let's see how we did in the cup. So we started things off on the first round of the cup against Frosinone. No idea how to pronounce that. We ended up beating them 2-0. Don't get too excited because in the second round we ended up going out in penalties to Modena. This, I'm not going to lie, is honestly, I'm kind of really disappointed with this. I feel like with how well we did in the league, we should have done a lot better in a cup. Like the second round and a team that we should be absolutely obliterating. Then with regards to player performances, young Suzuki played 40 games, conceded 54, which I'm perfectly fine with, and then 13 clean sheets. Valeri then played 37 games, 1 goal, 9 assists. He's also wanted by the Saudi League. Honestly, he's too good for only being worth 9 to 13 million. If he was like, say 20 to 25 million and we got like 30 plus million for him, I would definitely sell him on. But like if we're only going to get 15 to 18 million at most, say 15 for a player that's Italian, only 25, really, really good left back, a good mentality, consistent, enjoys the big games. I just don't feel like 18 million's worth, 15 to 18 million's worth of selling. Of course, then Barandelli, the guy that we brought in January, he played 18 games, 3 goals, 5 assists. Arboni actually had a really, really good season. He actually looks very, very good now. 34 games played, 4 goals, 1 assist. Then young Siakarte played 30 games, did get a couple of niggles, so didn't get a chance to play the whole season. He had no goals, 1 assist. Then Mandela Keita, he ended up playing 20 games, 17 off the bench, 5 goals, 3 assists. He ended up transfer listing himself because he wanted to go to a stronger squad, which I kind of get. Look, if we get 21 million for him, I'll be super happy. But we did actually lose someone else in January. He wanted to leave. I couldn't get him a transfer like instantly straight away, so we ended up loaning one of our players out. And that was Simeon Som. I wanted to go to a bigger team, ended up at Como. I don't understand this. Honestly, it's a player I would like to keep because he's very, very good. But if you go into his contract for the loan deal, after 15 games, we get 24.5 million. Yeah, they only have 2 games left, so he's going to have to play both of those games. I'm hoping, touch wood, he plays both of those games, because if we can get 24.5 million for him playing 20 or playing 15 games is absolutely amazing. Ideally, like I said, a player I would like to keep. But if we get 24.5 million, I'm not going to say no to it. And of course, young Fabian played 36 games, did get a couple of niggles, 9 goals, 3 assists. He's definitely one I want to keep and bring into the team. Then young Sebastiano Esposito played 36 games, 14 goals, 15 assists. Very, very good season for him. Colombo, one that we have already agreed to transfer for, you've seen this in January, played 35 games, 9 goals, 8 assists. Then Big Juric played 31 games, 14 goals, 6 assists. Don't worry, he's just upset he's spaghetti because he wants a new contract. And then, of course, Big Esposito played 39 games, 24 goals, 5 assists. Like I said, I have offered for him to basically come and stay at the club full time or even come in another loan. He's getting no interest. I'm going to reevaluate this before he goes back to Inter, because honestly, I would love to have him in the club. If we can, like I said, have both of the Esposito brothers, and if I can get him for 2 million, is an absolute steal. But we're just going to have to wait around and see if he wants to sign for us. But all in all, boys, an absolutely disgusting season. This formation is really, really good. And like I said, I think we've just brought the right players in at the right positions. We've got a lot of sort of big physical players, which is really, really helping out the squad as well. Like I said, definitely want to try and get Fabian into the squad and maybe try and bring in another centre back. Sirkate is just constantly upset all the time. He wants to go to a stronger squad, which I kind of get. He's a good player, but unless a big team comes in and offers us really, really good money, I'm not going to sell him. But all in all, boys, finishing second in the league is absolutely insane. Like I said, we've done this in previous saves, smashed it in the first season, then we've kind of tapered off a little bit. Obviously, a lot of our success has come from Esposito's goals. So, like I said, we're going to need to find someone to come in and replace him if we can't get him in. But all in all, finish second in the league. The cup, really want us to do better in a cup. Going out in the second round is very, very disappointing, but we guaranteed ourselves Champions League football when they said we were going to finish 17th in the league. I would say all in all, there's no negatives we can take away from this season. So boys, let's jump over into season 2. So boys, then moving over into season 2, obviously there's a few people I wanted to bring in to kind of strengthen the squad. I was not able to get Esposito in the door. He did not want to sign for us, which is unfortunate because it is a player I would have loved to bring in. But we just move on. We get somebody else in. We were able to sell a few people as well. So we were able to make a little bit of cash as well. And we brought some interesting players in. Obviously for this season, look, we had a ridiculous season last year. Finishing where we finished in Champions League football was not expected. I thought it was going to take us a couple of seasons to get there, and especially with half of the players that we had on the team were loaned in. They all gelled really well. Obviously the cup is going to be something I want to improve on. We made it to like the second round and could put it in penalties, but the main thing is I think it's a little easier when you're not in Champions League football because we went out of the cup early. And then that gives us the ability to be able to just use the squad to focus on the league. Obviously now we've got the Champions League, and if you're in the Champions League, you kind of want to do well, but it's an extra 10 games. And then if we do well in the cup, you're talking 4 to 5 games. So you're talking anywhere from 50 to 60 games, which with a smaller squad can put a little bit of strain. So I don't expect us to finish second. For me, I want to stay in European football. That's my goal for the season, is stay. I think it's in the top 5 or 6 in this league. I want to stay in European football because obviously the reputation boost and then also the money that we get. But let's jump over, see who we moved and see who we brought in. So the first person out the door was Emmanuel Valeri, after me saying that I didn't want to get rid of him. But the Saudi League came in and offered. And yeah, he got upset, which is understandable because the man's on £500,000 a week playing for the Saudi League. But we were able to get decent enough money for him. We got 20 million up front. Would have liked about 25, but they didn't want to budge. But look, it's a player I didn't want to get rid of. He's 25, like I said, get the good mentality, super consistent, enjoys the big games, had a real good season, good determination. But look, when the Saudi League comes knocking, the same as the Premiership, generally most players are going to go. Then the next one at the door was a wee bit of a squad player. It's Christian or Danzians. I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah, we got a total of £500,000 up front, working its way up to 600,000. Look, this is one, like I said, just getting rid of the sort of dead wood in the team a little bit and just trying to get a wee bit of cash for them. And the next one out the door was Simeon Som. I know you remember, and Kowa was meant to give us 25.4 million. Yeah, they were sneaky bastards and they didn't play him in the last game, so you only played 14 games out of his 15. Look, it's what I would have done as well, so you didn't have to pay 25 million, but it was sneaky and I was kind of hoping he would have played all the games. An extra 25 mil would have been fantastic, but we moved him on to Lille, didn't get anywhere near where we thought we were going to get it for him, got a total of 9 million. Look, just wanted to get him out the door because he was upset from not being able to move, even though it wasn't our fault. So he's out the door, but ideally one I would have wanted to keep. Only 23, physically really, really good, mentally really, really good, but unfortunately he didn't want to stay. And then the last one out the door was Milan Juric. This was for about 800,000 over to Bodo Glimt. I think it was 800. Sorry, I just lied to you. 725,000. We moved him over to Bodo Glimt. Look, he's going to be 35 this year, and while I think he's actually a really, really good player, but his acceleration, his agility, his pace, and let's be honest, if he's going to be 35 this year, his physical stats are just going to start massively degrading, which is a shame. 6'6", 18 jump and reach, 20 head, and would have loved to have kept him. I really, really wish he was 26, 27 in and around there, because I would have kept him in the team for the whole save. Then one we did talk about was Giovanni Fabian. I did make this deal permanent. Like I said, we had the 12.5 million optional fee in his loan deal. I activated it straight away because he's a player that I really, really wanted to bring in the club. 6'3", big physical player, had a really, really good season. He's Italian. 21. It already, of course, in January agreed the deal for Lorenzo Colomba costs us a total of 6 million. Another one would have been an absolute steal. Really wish we would have got Esposito in for 2 million. Would have been fantastic, because then we would have paid a total of 20 million for 3 really good young Italian players. So then, because we lost a few players to play in the middle of the park, I went and got Cher and Dor. This is one, look, 20 years old, 6'3", he's Italian, got a good mentality, super consistent. We had to pay a total of sort of 5 million, working its way up to 10 million. I was getting the deal for about 5.5 million, and then who was it? Was it Arsenal? Arsenal come in, Aston Villa come in, and was he Juventus? I can't remember if it was. No, it was Napoli. Come in, and then a bidding war started, and if they wouldn't have come in, I would have got him for 5.5 million. I ended up having to pay 10 million. I paid 500,000 more than anybody else, and we were the only bid that got accepted. Look, ideally, 10 million down the line for a really, really young Italian player at 6'3". I'm happy with this, but I would have wished I would have saved the 4.5 million. But look, it is what it is. A really good buy for us. Then obviously with our left back going to the Saudi League, we were going to need to replace him. So I went and got a Luca Pellegrini, surprisingly cheap, which I was more shocked about. So one thing, 25 years old, about the same age as our left back, Italian, got a good mentality, super consistent, enjoys the big games, really, really good all round. We had to pay a total of 11.5 million, which, to be honest, we got rid of our left back for 20, brought him in for 11.5, and they're probably just as good as each other. And like I said, he's young and he's Italian, so going to help us with registration. Then another one I brought in to be one of our young strikers. Obviously with Duric going out the door and us not being able to get Esposito in, we were going to need some strikers. So this guy is going to be our young pressing forward. I've honestly never heard of this guy. I don't know if it's something to do in this database, but look, we brought this young guy in. Look, is he phenomenal? No, but we don't, let's be honest, we don't have the reputation to bring in world-class players, also the money at the minute, but he does have a few things that are absolutely fantastic. He's 21 years old, Good mentality, consistent, 6'4", little one-footed, something we can work on, and a little injury prone, but it's not dark red, so I'm not going to worry about it. Physical stats are absolutely insane. Mental stats are really good, and his technical stats, he's pretty good all round. As you can see over here, really, really solid player, and we only had to pay a total of 6 million, which I think is an absolute steal for a player like him. So obviously, like I said, he's going to be our pressing forward. Then to be the big man up top, I went and got Lorenzo. Look, it was between him and a couple of other people, and one of the other players I was interested in ended up going over to Chelsea because, yeah, they need more players. So there is a few things, once again, you will see a pattern here. Look, 23 years old. It's wild that Lorenzo Luca is still only 23. I feel like he's been around in Football Manager for so long. But anyway, 23 years old, Italian, 6'7". Once again, you know my love for big physical strikers. Physically, absolutely insane. 6'7" with 18 jumping rates and 17 heading. So I expect him to get a few goals from crosses and corners. Look, I don't need to explain to you how good Lorenzo Luca is. We all know how good he is. Had to pay a total of 10 million up front, working its way up to 15 million, which I think, honestly, is an absolute steal. So then, moving over into Season 2, this is what the team is going to look like. So Suzuki still net, Pellegrini, Carboni, and Cercati. Cercati is now happy, signed a new contract. He's going to be staying at the club. Look, I want to keep these two in. Both 6'3". Barandelli. How tall is Barandelli, actually? 5'9". He's a little shorter. What about Pellegrini? I think he's 5'10". Yeah. Don't expect your fullbacks to be tall anyway. But Endor, 6'3". Fabian, 6'3". 6'3". So actually 6'4", 6'7". I don't think Colombo's big. 6 foot, sort of normal height for, I think Esposito was a little shorter. 6 foot. I thought he was shorter. So like our whole midfield and front line is all over 6 foot. Which is exactly what I want from this team. Big physical units, boys. But like I said, this team looks really, really good. Endor and Fabian in the middle of the park is going to be great. And Esposito and Colombo both can play with both feet. I am going to work on his other weak foot, the same with Lorenzo Luca. I want him to be able to kind of play reasonably well with both feet. The only positions I'm looking and I'm like, do we need to maybe change is, I don't know how good Suzuki's going to be. It says potential Serie A standard. He's not even playing as a Serie A level yet. This is one position at some point I may look to strengthen a little bit. I also don't know how good Andrea Carboni is going to be. This is him probably close to full potential, but I feel like he's a really, really good centre back and he's still really, really young. The same with Cercate. I don't know his potential in this database. It says he could improve a lot, and ideally, if he could improve a lot, we have a 23-year-old and a 20-year-old as our centre backs. I don't really need to change him unless obviously, right, I've just seen the Carboni's wanted. Please don't be anybody big. Villarreal, Torino, we can fight them off. We're good with that. But boys, this is going to be the team for Season 2. I think we have built something fantastic. Right, question is, who's the assistant manager going to put in? So the only changes the assistant manager makes is he brings Almvrist in and pushes Colombo into the pressing forward. So the only people I'm going to need to lock in is actually going to be 3 players. I'm going to lock Colombo in. I'm going to rock Duro Shinmi, and I noticed Endor was not playing. So these are the 3 players that we have to lock in for the season. All in all, pretty good. Means we don't have to lock a ton of players in, which is really, really nice. But boys, that's enough messed about. Look, I always say, obviously, I'll bring us back in January if it's anybody good for approach signs, but we don't. So we're just going to continue to not lie to you. I'll show you who we bring in the summer. I looked at the approach sign list. It doesn't look great, but our reputation may increase by January, and there may be a few different people in there. But look, I'm hoping for another decent youth intake. Like I said, we got a 3-star last year. Obviously, I'll show you those players as they progress a little bit. I think 2 of them could be relatively decent. So once again, actually, it's a good point. I have to see, has our thing changed? It's still, our youth recruitment is still at the silver stars. Like I said, somebody leave in the comments down below and let me know why it's silver stars and not yellow. Is this our potential? I don't know. I'm not too sure what way the silver stars work in this game. I don't know everything, contrary to belief about Football Manager. There's a lot about this game I don't know. But boys, that's enough messed about. Let's go play Season 2. So boys, we're at the end of Season 2. Obviously, if we're here, the youth intake was not great. It was like a 1.5 stars, so not fantastic. But like I said, going into the season, I wanted to just try and do what we did last year. European football is obviously the goal to stay in. I know, look, we massively overachieved last year, and that's fine. Look, it's going to happen. We just had a good tactic with good chemistry with players, and we just, let's be honest, we overperformed a little bit. But look, I'm here for it. Look, sometimes you need a wee bit of luck, but we played good through the whole season, and I kind of want to do that again. I feel like this league, with the players that we've got, we should be doing this pretty well. I would say within the 5 seasons, we should be able to win the title at least once or a couple of times. I feel like our team is good enough to do that. But that's enough messed about. Let's go and see how we did in the league. So we started off the season with a nice 4-2 win over Fiorentina. Then we had a fantastic 3-1 win over Lazio. We then ended up beating Roma 2-1. We then also had a fantastic win over Juventus. Then just after Christmas, we seemed to have a wee bit of a bad run. We lost a couple of games. We drew a couple of games. AC Milan beat us 3-2. Fiorentina then beat us 2-1. Inter then smashed us 5-2. But after all those results, we still ended up second. And as you can see, Roma ended up actually winning the league. So as you can see, look, it's been a little mixed. Napoli, AC Milan, Roma, there's a bunch of different teams winning, which is kind of what you want. You don't want like a one-horse race where just one team wins it every year. But I'm very, very happy with this. The team performed very, very well. If we didn't have that wee dip after Christmas, we had like 3 defeats and like 2 to 3 draws in the space of like 8 games. Honestly, we honestly could have won the league. But look, we finished second, and like I said, my goal once again is to stay in European football. Obviously, Champions League is the goal. Like, that's the big European trophy that you want to try and go after. We played 38 games, 25 wins, 8 draws. I feel like, once again, just too many draws. Palermo, we should be beating. Lecce, we should be beating. Torino, we should be beating. Calgary, we should be beating. The rest of them can kind of go up. It doesn't really matter. Teams we got beat by, I'm relatively happy with. They're all decent teams. We had 60 goal difference, which is the highest in the league, and we finished on 83 points. Roma finished on 85, so 2 points ahead of us. Like I said, if we wouldn't have just lost those games at the end of the season, we honestly could have won the league. But the thing that does make me happy is if you go over into the goals, as you can see, Lorenzo Luca and our new young striker, Dorishimo. I've decided to call him Dorishimo because I can't. There's too many I's and S's and I's and O's in his name. It just tongue twists me. So them two, 24 goals, 20 goals, absolutely fantastic. And then they're also in there for average ratings. Then as you can see, our right back over on the right hand side, our right back over here on the assists on the right hand side of the page got 19, which is absolutely fantastic. He's also our left back is in there for yellow cards, and also our centre back, so we have 2 people in there for yellows. Nobody in the clean sheets and nobody in the player matches, which means if we had a 60 goal difference, it means we must have scored a lot of goals, but we just conceded a few. We go up on the team overall stats, most points per game, we are down in second, which is fantastic. We scored 108 goals. We outscored everybody by a good amount. Most shots for us by about 100, fewest shots against. We're actually in 4th, with I'm pretty happy with. Most clean sheets we're not in there, and fewest conceded. We're down in 8th. Look, we scored 108 goals and conceded 48. I would like the conceded to come down just a little bit, but we are playing a wee bit attacking. No matter, once again, what would have happened with how many goals we scored or how many we conceded, to finish second and finish in Champions League football again is absolutely fantastic. I'm kind of upset because we could have won the league. We could have won the league if we didn't have that wee dip after Christmas. But all in all, boys, another fantastic season in the league. Let's go and see how we did in the cups. So we start things off in the Coppa Italia for third round. I was going to say first round. We started off in the third round. We beat Empoli 4-1. That then took us to the quarterfinals where we get absolutely obliterated by AC Milan 4-0. So that's 2 years in a row we've got absolutely stopped. At least we got a little further than we did last year, which is something. But all in all, look, 4-0. It's probably more like the performance than it is that we actually got beat. If we would have got beat 4-2, 4-3, something like that, like we just showed a wee bit of grit. As you can look over here, like we had a couple people on 6, 6.1, 6.4, just not a good performance. And I do want to try and win the cup at some point. Then we were also in the Super Cup, but for some reason we started off in the semi-finals. If anybody knows a wee bit more about Italian football, you can leave in the comments down below and let me know. I don't know what the Super Cup is. I just know, look, it's just a piece of silverware, and if we're in it, we gotta try and win it. But we started off in the semi-finals against Inter. We beat them 3-2, which took us on to a final where we faced off against Juventus. We actually started off the scoring through the different Esposito brother to make it 1-0. Just before halftime, we then made it 2-0. Of course, it was Lorenzo Luca. Juventus hit back just after halftime, of course, through Dusan Vlahovic. But that was not enough. We were the victorious team, boys. Ended up beating them 2-1. Look, honestly, beating Inter 3-2, very, very close game, and then to go and beat Juventus 2-1 in the final is absolutely fantastic. Look, our first little piece of silverware, and I'm very, very happy about this. But we do also have the Champions League this year. We started off in the league phase. We ended up smashing Lugaret 7-2. Then travelled to Celtic Park and beat them 2-1. Then in probably one of our best performances of the season, we got beat by Real Madrid 4-3. Look, with the team that they have, I'm going to take this as a massive positive that we showed we can hang even with Real Madrid. But in the next match, unfortunately, we did get beat by Leipzig 1-0. We then went on to have a fantastic match against Aston Villa, beating them 5-3 at Villa Park. We then had a nice 1-0 win over Steaua Bucharest. Then Liverpool absolutely clapped the cheeks off us, beating us 5-0. But look, with their team, Look, once again, would have liked a wee bit of a better performance. They beat us 5-2, 5-3. At least we tried to put up a wee bit of a fight. As you can see, a few of the boys over here, 5.9, 5.8, 5.7. Obviously, look, we just got played off the park by the vastly superior team. Then in our final league phase match, we ended up beating Shakhtar 1-0, which meant we ended up finishing 8th, which to be honest, I'm very, very surprised about. I would have thought we would have been easily in the top 24. I thought we would have been in the blue and then had to go to the knockouts. But to finish in the top 8, I'm not going to lie, a lot of big teams just didn't perform. Arsenal down here, like Bayern's down here, AC Milan, Man United, Barcelona's down in 20th. Look, obviously you've got the teams up here that should be up here. Man City, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Aston Villa are always very good in this database. PSG, Fenerbahce, absolutely fantastic. And then Salzburg, strangely up here as well. But look, it's just, I think it was a wee bit of a weird Champions League season. But look, I'm going to take it, which means we skip the knockouts and go straight to the round of 16, where we get absolutely slapped by Arsenal 5-0. Do you remember that team that finished like 19th? They absolutely obliterated us. Once again, a lot of 5s and 5s and 5s. But look, we've got a very young, inexperienced team that's just got put together. And look, for our first stint in the Champions League, making it to the round of 16 is absolutely unreal. But there was a second leg where we put up a way better performance at our home ground, drawing them 3-each. Look, if they would have beat us like 2-0 in the first leg, I'd have been pretty happy, and then 3-each, they would have beat us 5-3, but 8-3 looks like we just got absolutely obliterated, which we did in the first leg, but in the second leg, we give a wee bit of better of a account of ourselves. So boys, so far, look, we won the Super Copa, we finished second, guaranteed Champions League football, made it to the round of 16, unfortunately didn't get past the quarterfinals in the Cup, but all in all, a season once again we can be very, very happy about. So you're probably looking at our keeper for player performances, but like, Mark, this is not our keeper. Well, Nicholas Hidell is now our new keeper. I was looking through keepers, like I said, Suzuki is kind of that's as good as he's going to get. He's not going to get any better, and he's happy to be like a backup keeper, even if he's not, that's what he's going to play anyway. So I was looking around in January, and I thought, right, I was having a look around, and like, Dennis Seaman, of course, always a fantastic option, but in this database, very, very expensive. I think he's up to like 60 million. Reece Dess was 80 to 100 million. Adoro was very, very expensive. And then I was just having a wee look around, and I was like, Hidell, good early, good distribution, good shot stopping, good communication, and we got him for a total of 16 million. Obviously, it works his way up to 25, but all in all, look, he's 24 years old, very, very good keeper. Got a good mentality, super consistent, and since January he played 28 games, conceded 48, had 8 clean sheets, but look, we're playing a very, very attacking tactic. He's a massive upgrade keeper wise. And of course, Jean Carbone, our centre back, 42 games played, 2 goals, 6 assists. He's also looking very, very good. And then beside him, young Alessandro Cercarte, it always messes me up. Got a few injuries, as you can see, only played 35 games, 2 goals, 4 assists. A lot of green arrows going up, like I said, looking very, very... Honestly, if he was a little bit better on the ball, I'd play him as a defensive midfielder, because he's really fucking good. Like, good early, good attacking, and he would make a good game. But honestly, having him as a ball-playing defender is good. It's strange that his attacking is so high. I think it's something to do with, like, his long throws, because if you look, his dribbling, his finishing, first touch is not good. His technique is not good. I think it's his, because once again, is off the ball is also solid. So off the ball is with regards to basically going forward, and then positioning is with regards to defending. So maybe because his off the ball is good is why it makes it look like his attacking's a lot better. But all in all, look, 6'3", still only 21 years old, had a really, really good season. Like I said, a couple of wee niggles. Hopefully he doesn't have those next year. Then the young man in the middle of the park, Cher Adore, honestly didn't really overly improve, still not playing at a Serie A level, but look, only just turned 20, so we're not going to worry about it too much. When he played 39 games, once again, did have a few niggles, 5 goals, 3 assists. Young Fabian in the middle of the park, played 40 games, 14 goals, 5 assists, looking very, very good. Esposito out on the left-hand side, played 43 games, 17 goals, 8 assists. Colombo out on the right-hand side, played 46 games, 9 goals, 9 assists. I would like him to get a little bit more involved. I feel like he should be doing a lot more scoring than this. And young Durissimo, like I said, as what I've started calling him, the only downside is he now is Redford, does not enjoy the big games. But, like I said, we're a small team. Beggars can't be choosers with the type of players we're trying to get. And honestly, he's played very, very good. 50 games, 29 goals, 12 assists, and a 7.4 for the season. In the big fella up top, who we can actually call the big fella because he's 6'7", played 43 games, 27 goals, 9 assists, and a 7.2 for the season. So all in all, look, boys, an absolutely fantastic second season. We did everything we wanted to do. Stay in European football. We did well in European football. The Cup made it to the quarterfinals, and then obviously win the Super Copa. I don't know how much money we got. 36 million is absolutely fantastic. With regards to the team, I'm not too sure where I would like to sort of like improve. I feel like probably an old defensive midfielder and then loan Endor out. I feel like we probably more likely have to do that. With regards to Carboni, I feel like Carboni's really, really good. I don't feel like we have to replace him. I feel like he's really, really good centre back. Carte, like I said, honestly, if he was better on the ball, I'd play him as a defensive midfielder and bring another centre back in. But he's not good on the ball, and I don't want to be playing in the middle of the park. If he's the man's got 10 first touch. But this could also be the reason why we're leaking a few goals, is because if he's got a terrible touch, he takes the ball down, maybe he gets caught on the ball, something like that, or like he gets the ball off a striker, and then his first touch is terrible, then they get the ball back. It could be a lot of like circumstances. Ideally, like I said, if he had a wee bit of room to improve, it says he could improve significantly, so I may work on his ball control, honestly. Push him into the middle of the park, loan Adore out, because I feel like Adore will be fantastic, but he needs football, and I kind of want to play Carte in the middle of the park, and then we probably get a centre back. So we'll more than likely do this. And then, like I said, I think we just need an absolute stud of a centre back. Maybe somebody a little bit older with a wee bit of experience. We'll just kind of have a wee look around and see who's available for us. But all in all, boys, a fantastic second season. Let's move over into season 3. So, boys, then moving over into season 3. There's not really much happening with regards to transfers. We didn't sell any players. I only brought one player in. Look, we're not going to be able to attract crazy good players yet, but the one person we've brought in is a massive upgrade in a position. I tried to go and get a centre back, and I was looking around at the centre backs that were available. Honestly, there was just nobody that I wanted to spend sort of any sort of money on. There was nobody that was interested, and I don't want to just spend money for the sake of spending money. So Carboni and Cercate will just be our two centre backs going forward for the next couple of seasons. And then I brought us in a new defensive midfielder. And that person is Nico Gonzalez. Surprisingly, on the transfer list, which was found a little strange. Obviously went to Man City for a couple of seasons, didn't really do anything, was on the transfer list for 25 million. And I was like, right, okay, he's perfect for what we want in the middle of the park. 6'2", can play football. He's good all round. Him and Fabian in the middle of the park is going to be fantastic, because he's got a good mentality, enjoys the big games, he's super consistent. His buddy in beside him has a really good mentality, super consistent, enjoys the big games, 6'3". So this is what the team is going to look like going into the season. I also, like I said, brought us in Heidel, who I think is a massive upgrade. Suzuki, look, I was very happy with, but just he's not going to get any better. And if he's not going to get any better, I just don't feel like he's just our first choice keeper. Heidel, absolutely fantastic. So Pellegrini, Carboni, Cercate, and Birandelli as our back five. Then Nico and Fabian in the middle of the park is absolutely fantastic. Esposito and Colombo in there, along with Luca and Durissime. Durissimo. I've literally just started calling them Durissimo, but I think this is a very, very good team. I'm really, really happy with this. Like I said, for this season, do the same thing as what we did last year. We can't always guarantee we're going to finish second. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of want to start. I feel like this team is good enough to push up and start like really, really challenging for the Serie A. Last season we were unlucky. Look, those couple of games like that we drop after Christmas, that January and February period, if we wouldn't have threw away that many games, we honestly could have won the league. So, like I said, just keep doing what we're doing. Last year we finished second. We did well in the Cup. We did well in the Champions League. We just continue doing that. Obviously, January, I'll look and see if there's anybody on the approach of signs. And then one of these seasons, boys, we're going to get a good youth intake. Like, I want just like... I know it's not going to happen every season. I just want to get like one absolute banger player, like one of those players where you're just like, oh, okay, he's very good. And then in a couple of seasons, you can bring him up into the first team. I just want one of those players at some point through one of these seasons. But boys, that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 3. So boys, we're at the end of season 3. The youth intake was 1 star out of 5. As you can tell, the players were in there. Yeah, they weren't great. I signed them all, obviously, just in case. But yeah, we didn't get a good youth intake. But once again, look, I expect us to just... It's funny saying this in season 3 with Parma. I expect us to stay in European football. That's my goal. Obviously, Champions League football is the big one, because that's the one that's also going to increase our reputation. We're now up from 3-star club reputation up to 4-star reputation. Obviously, staying in the Champions League and stuff has helped that massively. But yeah. Let's go see how we did in the league. So we started things off with a fantastic 2-0 win over Fiorentina in just before Christmas, but we seem to have had a wee bit of a slump. We get beat 2-1 by Roma, then 3-2 by AC Milan, then we get beat 2-1 by Juventus. I know those 3 teams are very, very good teams, and we just got beat by like a goal, but look, that's not the point. Some of those games, I feel like we should be getting a few results in, but we did bounce back against Napoli, beating them 2-1. We also got a revenge on AC Milan, beating them 1-0, which meant after all those results, we ended up finishing 4th. Roma ended up winning the league again, which is absolutely wild. I don't know who they've bought, but their team seems to be amazing. We played 38 games, 24 wins is still very, very solid. Do not get me wrong. Like, from where we've gone from season 1 up to here, like, we're doing way better. 6 draws, 8 defeats. Once again, a few of those I feel like we shouldn't lose. Like the Sassuolo and the Atalanta game, I feel like we should be winning. With regards to the draws, we should definitely, the Fresnine one, we should definitely be winning. The Bologna one, the Lecce one, we should be winning. We should be getting results in those games. We're at a 39 goal difference, so I don't know if we didn't score as much or we conceded a shit ton. Finished on 78 points. If you remember, we finished on 83, so we finished 5 points less than what we had last year. So a wee bit of a drop off. If nobody in the top goal scores, which probably proves my point that we probably didn't score a lot of goals, our young striker is in there for average ratings. Our right back, Birindelli, is in there for assists. Pellegrini is in there for yellow cards. Heidel is in there for clean sheets, which means we did really well defensively, which means we probably just didn't score as many goals. So we go up into the team overall stats. Most points per game, we're joined third. Most goals, as you can see, we dropped off at 82. We were scoring, but then everybody else is starting to score more goals too, because obviously their squads are getting better. Inter's getting better because they now have Esposito up top. I really wish we would have been able to get him after the first season for 2 million. Then most shots, we're getting the shots off, we're just not sticking them in. Few shots against, we're down in 5th, absolutely fantastic. Most clean sheets is us with 16. Fewest conceded, strangely, in there in 8th, which means a couple of games we must have got absolutely slapped in, because if we have the most clean sheets, there must have just been a few games where we got maybe conceded like 5 or 6 goals. But all in all, I set out to do the thing that we wanted to do this season, is stay in Champions League football. A little disappointed with where we finished compared to how well we did last year, but all in all, Champions League football, and like, we know going forward we need to score more goals. So then that also takes us over into the Super Cup. As you can see, we only got to the semi-finals this year. Juventus actually beat us 2-1, so unfortunately no final in the Super Cup, but we do still have the Italian Cup, where we started things off in the 3rd round against Medina. We ended up smashing them 3-1. We then got our revenge on Juventus. We beat them 4-2 in the quarterfinals. That then took us to the semi-finals, where we faced off against Inter. We beat them 2-1 in the first leg. But unfortunately, in the second leg, they ended up smashing us 4-1, which means they went through 5-3 to the final. Look, all in all, we did better than we did last year, and we're just making small improvements. But I would have liked to get to the final. After winning the first leg, it would have been nice to get there. But we do also still have the Champions League. We start things off in the league phase against Hoffenheim, beating them 2-0. We then also beat Bodo Glimt 2-1. We then got smashed about by Bayern, beating us 3-1. But we then turned it around against Napoli, beating them 4-0. We then beat Clermont 2-1. Got a nice 2-1 win over Copenhagen. Unfortunately, then got beat 2-1 by Parma. We also had a man sent off. I noticed we have a lot of man sent off, so we maybe our tackles are getting a little dangerous. And then in our final league phase match, we ended up drawing 1 each with Ajax. So that means we finished just outside. Look, I'm happy with this. Last year we were in here, it was a wee bit crazy, let's be honest. 10th is absolutely fantastic. It means now move on to the knockouts, where we faced off against Benfica and we ended up drawing 2 each in the first leg. We also had another man sent off. In the second leg, they absolutely obliterated us. We had another man sent off. So I don't know what's going on with us in the red cards, but like, that's something we need to look into. That means that we're now out of the Champions League in the knockouts. I would have liked to get a little bit further, but like, I'm okay with this, but just not a great season, I don't feel. That then takes us over to the player performances. Big Heidel. Everybody on our team is wanted, by the way, by a big club, so next season is going to be interesting. Did 53 games, 66 conceded, but 18 clean sheets. Carbone, who actually looks fantastic, by the way, I'm not going to lie. Played 41 games, no goals, no assists, but we do have a lot of big players in the team, so probably not aiming for him for corners. And of course, youngster Carte in beside him, played 37 games, did have a few knocks, no goals, 1 assist. Pellegrini on the left-hand side, played 38 games, no goals, 7 assists. Would have liked a wee bit more assists. I feel like 7's not a lot for a team that we're playing pretty attacking. His compatriot on the other side, Birindelli, had a very, very good season. 45 games played, 3 goals, 27 assists. So good job, big man. And of course, our new signing, Nico Gonzalez, played 41 games, 2 goals, 7 assists. Big Fabian in the middle of the park right beside him, 42 games, played 10 goals, 5 assists. Really, really good performance from him. He looks disgustingly good, by the way. I'm honestly surprised nobody's after him. Then Esposito out on the left-hand side, played 39 games, 13 goals, 5 assists. All in all, pretty quiet season, had a 6.9 as well. Like I said, everybody on our team is wanted by somebody. Those clubs, I feel like we can fight those off. Colombo then over on the right hand side, played 51 games, 13 goals, 10 assists. All in all, a pretty good season for him, but the Saudi League wants him, so it's going to be difficult to hold on to him. And big Durissimo. Obviously, Rafu Durisame. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm so sorry, big man. But all in all, a pretty good season. 52 games, 25 goals, 8 assists. The only thing is, like I said, he doesn't enjoy the big games. This is him pretty much at his full potential. I feel like we need a wee bit of a step up from this. What's he upset about? He wants a new contract. Who wants him? Leicester and Schalke? I don't know. I feel like, if I'm being honest, he's a squad player. He's very, very good for what we've needed, for especially last season. But I feel like, honestly, if we want to push on, start trying to win the league, start trying to do a bit better in Champions League, I feel like this is a position we probably need the upgrade. And then the big man up top only played 30 games. I don't know if he had maybe a few injuries. He had a broken collarbone. That's not good yet. That's probably the reason why he didn't really play a lot of games. So 30 games played, 17 goals and 3 assists. All in all, 17 goals in 30 games. Pretty solid. Hoping he doesn't get any injuries next year. But like I said, going into the next season, honestly, I'm pretty happy with the team. I would still like a monster centre back, but I feel like these two are really, really good. The Durissimo, I feel like the pressing forward, and Colombo, I feel like this is two positions we need to upgrade. I feel like they're both pretty decent. If I'm being totally 100% honest about us winning the league and winning the Champions League, I feel like we may have to upgrade that too. All those players, I'm not saying they're not good enough. They are good players, but we just need a wee step up. And also, we need to increase our squad quality as well, because honestly, if one of those players gets hurt, don't have a lot of players that are really good to come in and fill those positions. I would like Colombo and somebody else to fight for that, and then somebody else and Esposito fight for that, and then Durissimo and somebody to fight for those positions. I need competition in those positions. I feel like that's where we're missing out. And like I said, we've got into where would we finish? 3rd, 2nd, and 4th. So like, we're doing well in the league, but we just that little step up, we may need to increase the quality of the people that's playing in those positions, or like I said, just have people fighting in those positions. But all in all, look, we finished 4th in the league, stayed in Champions League football, made it the semi-finals of the Cup, made it the semi-finals of the Copa Cup thing. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Then we made it the knockouts of the Champions League. So all in all, another good season. And like I said, we're just increasing our reputation every season because we're playing better and better. But all in all, boys, look, a pretty good season. Let's jump over into season 4. So boys, then moving over into season 4, yeah, there's been a lot of changes with the team. So the first one out the door, unfortunately, was Nicholas Heidel. This is one, as you know, I want to keep because he's a fantastic keeper. But yeah, the Premiership came knocking and it was Chelsea. So we did get some good money. We got a total of 40 million, working its way up to 50 million. You got to remember, we paid 25 million for him, so we're basically doubling the cash that we paid. I would have liked about 60 if I'm being truthful. But even if I wanted to keep him, he didn't want to stay because it's the Premiership. And you know the two leagues that come knocking, the Premiership and the Saudi League. And when they do, players always go. In the next one out the door, another one I didn't want to leave was Nico Gonzalez. We only just fucking got him last year and I didn't want to get rid of him. Like I said, perfect midfielder, 6'2", can play with both feet, good mentality, consistent, enjoys the big games. Good all round, still only 24, but unfortunately, he decided to piss off to the Saudi League, so we got a total of 40 million, working its way up to 60. Look, for a guy, once again, we had 25 million. We actually more than doubled our money. So look, if we're going to lose players, at least we're going to fucking make some cash from them. But another one I didn't want to lose. Then one I was actually looking at getting rid of was going to be Lorenzo Colombo. Look, he's at his max. If I'm being realistic, he's a good squad player. If we're looking at like trying to win the Serie A, trying to win the Champions League at some point, he's a good squad player. So he ended up going out the door. Once again, the Saudi League, thank God the Saudi League, I don't know what we'd do without him. We got a total of 35 million, working its way up to 50 million, which is absolutely wild. Because you think about it, we get the same amount of money for him that we got for Nicholas Heidel, who's, let's be honest, is probably one of the best young keepers in the game. So yeah, I'm still looking at that Heidel sale and thinking we should have got at least over 60 million. Don't worry, boys, the sales didn't stop there. We also got rid of Barandelli. I say get rid of, another one I didn't want to get rid of. So we've lost 3 players I didn't want to lose. Look, Barandelli only just turned 27. He had 27 assists last year. He's a really good right back. He's Italian, got a good mentality, enjoys the big games, he's consistent. This is one we didn't really get a lot of money for, but if I'm being honest, he wasn't really worth a lot of money. They paid us 32.5 million up front, working its way up to 41.5 million. We paid 5 million for him, so yeah, we made a huge investment on that. In the next one at the door, one I was actually looking to sell was Pontus Almqvist. He ended up going to Betis for a total of 12 million. I was getting 18 million for him at one point. I can't remember who it was. It was somebody in the English league. I can't remember. Brentford. He was going to go to Brentford for 18 million and then rejected the contract. So we ended up getting rid of him for 12. And then another bid came in for him for 15 from another club. He rejected that. And then I think at all this point I had him transfer listed and he still didn't want to fucking go. And then we eventually got rid of him. So we ended up losing about 6 million. But look, I got him out the door, got his wages off. and a wee bit of cash. Then the next one we lost was Zion Suzuki. This one I was happy selling, because at this point we hadn't lost Heidel. Look, I was getting rid of him. He wasn't good enough. And also he's taken up one of our foreign spots. So he's going to be, there's no point in having our second choice keeper taking up one of our foreign spots when we can push that out to somebody in the first team and bring in like another quality player. So I got rid of him for a total, I think it was like, 850,000 up front, working its way up to $1 million. Look, he's not worth a lot. And like I said, at this point, I wasn't planning on selling Heidel, but look, we lost both of our keepers, so obviously we need to replace them. The keeper I went and replaced them with was Gaëtan Poussin. Look, I'm not going to lie to you, the options were very, very limited. I was looking, I think Dennis Seaman was one, but he was worth 70 to 90 million. I think he actually went to Bayern Munich. Yeah, he did end up going to Bayern Munich for a total of 70 million. He had a release clause, and yeah, I didn't want to spend 70 million pound on a keeper. So I went and got Poussin. He was on the transfer list. Look, he's got a good mentality. He's super consistent. 6 foot, little shorter than what I would like for a keeper, but we paid a total of 4.3 million. So we get rid of Heidel for 50 and brought a new keeper in for 4.3. Obviously, look, his distribution's not as good, but he's very, very good shot stopping, good aerial and communication and mental skills, and he's still only 27. So look, not what you'd want to bring in for your first choice keeper, but our options are a little limited. And the next one I brought in was a centre back. I brought in Tanguy Nianzou, another one that was surprisingly transfer listed for a very low price, 6.2 million. So Carboni was ended up meant to be going to Chelsea. We weren't wrangled the deal. It was 58 million. I think it was like 35 million up front and then the rest in installments. And then, yeah, he rejected it. So while basically I had accepted it, he was getting offered the contract. I was like, right, we're going to need another centre back. So I went and got Tanguy Nianzou because he was pretty cheap and probably just as good as Carboni, and then Carboni rejected City. So luckily we didn't pay a lot for Tanguy Nianzou, so it didn't slap us in the face too bad. And the next one I brought in is Hayago, a little Spanish. I was gonna say Spanish. He's not. He's clearly Brazilian. You can tell by the flag. This is one that's gonna be our new right back. Obviously, like I said, once again, our choices are very, very limited. Look, I would love to bring in people like Michael Coyote. They want nearly 100 million for him, and then the other options at right back are once again very limited. Even though we have like a 3 to 4 star reputation, there's not a lot of players out there that are really, really good, and anybody that's decent has just recently moved the clubs. I had a couple of right backs on my shortlist, and then they ended up going for like crazy money. There was a guy I can't remember his fucking name. He was worth about 8.2 million. Yeah, he ended up going to, who was it? God, what do you call him? Nottingham Forest for like 39 million, and he was valued at 8, and I was like, right, okay, I don't want to match that. He's not worth it. So this is a wee kid, look, very, very attacking. Look, he's got good dribbling, good crossing, he's got good first touch. His technique is fantastic. Look, we play an attacking fullback, so look, I don't need him to be amazing defensive. He's still got 11 tackling, which is pretty solid. Physical stats are really good. He's got a good mentality, super consistent. He had a buy clause of 16.2 million. Pretty much if you're buying a Brazilian or Argentinian wonder kid, they're always going to have a buyer clause because of who they play for. So look, this is going to be our new right back until I can find someone probably a little more suitable. But look, I don't see any reason why we can't play him in there. He's 18 years old. He's got the potential. His mental stats are insane. 16 flair, 14 determination, 15 decision making, 12 composure, 16 anticipation. So look, I don't see any reason why he couldn't play there. In the first of our big signings, like I said, I felt like we just weren't smashing enough goals. In the first couple of seasons we did well, we scored well, and then we kind of just like tapered off a little bit. And like I said, I wanted to sort of make our front line a little more juicy. So I went and got Ile Welai. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know how the fuck to pronounce his name, but look, Big Wally. We'll just call him Big Wally, all right? This one costs us a lot of money. This was a little juicy, but here's the thing. He's 23 years old. He is very, very explosive. Like, look at his physical stats. He's even got 15 strength. Look, if you can find a player that's really technical and also an absolute monster, strength-wise, 16 dribbling, 17 finishing. Look, passing and vision are all good. Mental stats are very, very good. 47 million, working its way up to 80 million. So, once again, costs a lot of money. But you also got to remember, we made just under, like, 190 million. So, I went out and spent a little bit of it. Because, look, if we're going to win the league and we're going to win the Champions League, we're gonna need players that can help us do that. The next one I brought in was Abraham Sangare. He was also transfer listed. Once again, still costs us a little bit of money, but this is gonna be our Nico replacement. Look, we get rid of Nico for good money, and I wanted someone, look, you know my love for big physical players. He's 6'3", an absolute unit. Like, look at those physical stats, 17 strength. Mental stats are fucking impeccable. Even his technical stats, marking and passing are 14 and 15. Tackling and technique are 15 and 14. On top of it, like I said, he can go forward, he can go back. He's 6'3", 17 jumping reach along with 15 heading. So once again, an aerial threat. Probably something we're a little bit missing in the middle of the park. But now we have Sangari, who's really good in the air, and Fabian. Look, they're both 6'3" in absolute units. Once again, look at his value. 127 million to 139 million. Once again, 57 million working its way up to 64 million. Probably paid a wee bit more than we had to, but you're banned from a Premiership club, and unfortunately that's what you got to do. But I think honestly for 16 million, I think this dude's gonna do some business for us, boys. In the next one that costs us a little bit of money, like I said, honestly, joking aside, I was looking at people who are very, very quick, good dribbling, good finishing, good first touch to just upgrade our inside forwards and our forward line. And yeah, there wasn't many options. And then I seen Eddie Ekatike, another one that was a little upsetty spaghetti at his club. He also costs us a lot of money, if we're being honest, a total of 80 million. I don't know why it's saying we paid 80 million up front. We didn't. It's 35 million in installments, or 35 million up front and then the rest in installments. I don't know why it says 80 million, but it is what it is. Look, another one, look, we paid a lot of money for, but once again, like I said, if you want to win the Champions League and you want to win the league, this is what we got to do. And like I said, we made a absolute shit ton of money, and we need to spend it to try and help us win the league a little bit. Which means going into season 4, boys, this is what the team looks like. Poson, Pellegrini, Carboni, and Tangani Anzu. Obviously, these two will probably interchange. We do have a few centre backs, and then the wee young kid Hayagero at right back, and then like I said, Sangari and Fabian. Fabian is also pretty good in the air as well. So like we have two absolute units. Don't worry, he's just upset he's spaghetti because he wants a new contract. In Ketia, I'm going to play on this side. Esposito is still going to stay on the left-hand side. And then Wally is the pressing forward because, as you can see, he has really, really good teamwork and work rate and good stamina and natural fitness. And then Big Luca as the advance forward. Look, all in all, I think this is a team, honestly, that we can win the league with. It's just, are they going to gel together in the first season? This is a team I would like to keep for the foreseeable future. Obviously, the only position I'm looking at and going is maybe like a really, really juiced up centre back. Like, I mean, some dude, like a fucking, I'm not gonna lie to you, I looked at Scalvini, but he wants to go to Liverpool, and they were paying like 100 million, and I was like, 100 million's, look, 80 million was enough, 100 million's pushing it. That's the thing, I usually don't go out and spend a ton of cash on Football Manager, I really don't, but like, we've made so much money, and I want to win the league, and I would like to push to try and get somewhere near the Champions League and make us a really, really good team in there. But all in all, I think we spent right. We made a ton of cash. Look at the players that we brought. We brought some of those players in for like 5 or 6 million, sold them on for 15 million. I think we did pretty well, and I think I've bought right. This team, I expect to do, if I'm being honest, I think we can win the league. I think this team can win the league. I really, really do. Champions League, I would like to try and get somewhere near the round of 16 of the quarterfinals. I think we could do well. And can we please at some point win the fucking Italian Cup? It'd be great. But boys, like I said, I'll always go in and check the approach designs in January and then let you know in the summer if we bring anybody in. Hopefully, at some point we can get a good youth intake, but we'll just have to wait and see. But boys, I think that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 4. We can fucking win the league, boys. Come on. So boys, we're at the end of season 4. Obviously this season, look, we've spent big. Also, we also made a shit ton of money, so we were able to spend a little bit of that money on some decent players. Obviously, look, I would love those players to hit the ground running and just absolutely smash it, but we need to wait for the team to kind of gel together. But I would like to see us, once again, you know how this goes. I want to stay in the Champions League. That's my goal every season. Obviously, try and win the league at some point, but like, our main goal is to make sure we stay in that Champions League football. One, for the revenue, reputation boost. Look, if the revenue is great, because it's just like, if you can get to the quarterfinals of Champions League, you're talking like about 80 million. Like, it's absolutely wild. Like, if you just get there, if you get a little bit further, you can make it. If you win the Champions League, you make some serious amount of cash. And that's the goal, to make the club sustainable, make sure we stay in the Champions League, and make sure people are scared to come to our stadium and play. Even though our stadium's not that big, but it doesn't matter, right? That is one thing I have asked the board to do this season, is upgrade the stadium. Yep, they said no. But I'm just going to keep trying and trying and trying. But look, let's jump over, see how we did in the league this year. So we started things off with a fantastic 3-0 win over Roma. You got to remember, they won the league 2 years in a row. We then also smashed Juventus 4-1. Napoli then smashed us 4-0. We then had a nice 3-1 win over Atalanta. Then to round things off near the end of the season, we ended up beating Fiorentina 2-0. Even with all those good results, we just missed out of the league. We had a wee blip in November where we lost 3 games and drew a game. And honestly, that's once again what lost us the league again, is the fact that we need to get rid of those little blips of, I don't know if it was anything to do with like injuries or not. I'll have to go and have a wee look. But all in all, look, that we did very, very well once again. 38 games played, 25 wins, 6 draws, 7 defeats, like I said. But it's against Juventus, Roma, Lazio, Fiorentina, and Napoli, Inter and Napoli. So like they're all big teams, but like at one point we need to push up. I don't mind, see like the 2-1 against Roma, 1-0 against Lazio, but like the 4-0 against Juventus, the 4-0 against Napoli, the 3-0 against Inter. Those are games we kind of need to tone down like the defeats a little bit. But we had 47 goal difference, so either we did really, really well scoring, or defensively we were a little leaky. I would probably guess the latter of the two, because we are very, very attacking. But then we finished on 81 points. We were only 3 points behind AC Milan, who were the eventual winners. And then, like I said, the league's very, very close. Napoli's right behind us, Juventus right behind us. This league is close. There's a lot of really, really good teams, because the good thing is about Football Manager, which I enjoy, is the teams all around us. We're buying players to increase our team, but they're also doing it as well. So it's keeping the league competitive, which is it's kind of what we want. If you just run away with the league 5 years in a row, it gets very, very boring. Well, for me, it gets very, very boring. I like that sort of like we have to chase and chase and chase and chase. But look, there is a lot of positives out of this. Once again, we finish in Champions League football, but also big Lorenzo Luca was the top goal scorer in the league with 26 goals. He's also in there for average ratings. Our new young right back, Ahiego, is third for assists. Sarkarte is also in there for yellow cards, but then Lorenzo Luca is also in there for player of the matches. So if we go up to the team stats, most points per game, we are in second. Obviously, we finished second. We scored 98 goals, which means we probably leaked a few goals. I would probably say in and around the 40 mark again, which I would like to cut down a little bit. But then most shots for, look, we had 600 most shots for, fewest shots against. We're down in sixth. Two teams with the most clean sheets, which is a little strange because like we were in here last year, and then we've just completely fell off. We are not even in here for goals conceded, which is a little worrying, which means more than likely we probably conceded in and around the 48 to 50 goals, which to be honest is kind of unacceptable. I don't like that at all. So I feel like we might have to bolster up the back line a little bit, or bring our attacking mentality maybe down a little bit to positive and just kind of hone things in a little bit. But all in all, look, a good season. Unfortunate we got that little blipper. Once again, we could have won the league, but like we have the players and we just need them to gel together a little bit and just push on. But boys, all in all, we set it to do what we did. You're in the Champions League once again next year. So let's jump over, see how we did in the Cup. So we start things off in the Super Cup semi-final against Roma. We ended up losing this on penalties, which is a little unfortunate. But once again, it's showing we're very, very competitive. We did win it 1 year, and then the next 2 years we've kind of got to the semi-final and then just not been able to progress past there. Obviously, Juventus beat us last year, and then we went the whole way to penalties this year. But look, like I said, it's showing we're competitive because Roma do have a good team. That then takes us over to the Italian Cup. We start things off in the third round against Hellas Verona. We beat them 6-4. Look, really, really good score line with regards to like how many goals we scored, but conceding 4 against the smaller teams, not great. We did tighten things up whenever we reached the quarterfinals against Südtirol. We ended up beating them 5-0. Which then took us to the semi-final first leg against AC Milan, where we beat them 2-1. Once again, I think we had 2 men sent off, which is absolutely wild. But in the second leg, things didn't change. We ended up beating them 3-1, which means we go to our first cup final, 5-2 in aggregate. So we actually started off the scoring through big Lorenzo Luca. Of course, it was a header. Then Jacob put us 2-0 up. Wahi then made it 3. They got one back just before halftime. Another one just after halftime. Then Big Durissimo got us back in the lead. In the 80th minute, they got another one through Diabala. On the 82nd minute, Tommy Abraham took it to extra time. And then once again, in extra time, we leaked another goal unfortunately for them to win the cup. So unfortunately, we got to the most disappointing thing about this is we were fucking 3-0 up. As you can see, Luca, Jacob, and Wahi put us 3-0 up. This is a game we should have put away. We really should have. We let them back into the match, and I'm more disappointed. Look, when you get the cup final, you always want to win it. But like, just the way we lost, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little upset at this one. I really, really am. But look, boys, we live to cry another day, okay? We move on to the Champions League phase, where we started things off against Steaua Bucharest. We ended up smashing them 7-1. We then drew 2 each of PSV Eindhoven. We then had a nice 3-0 win over Bodo Glimt. Inter then clapped the cheeks off us 4-1. We then had a really hard match against Real Madrid. They ended up beating us 2-1. But we did bounce back in the next match, winning 4-1 against that team. I'm not gonna lie to you, boys. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce. We then drew 1 each away to PSG. So then in our final league phase match, we ended up beating Salzburg 3-0, which in the league phase meant we ended up finishing 11th. Look, once again, as long as we qualify, look, finishing the top 8 would be fantastic, because then you miss the knockouts. But look, we can't guarantee that's gonna happen every year. Look, we had a wee once off, and look, if you look at the teams up on the top 8, Real Madrid, Bayern, Man City, Liverpool, Barcelona, PSG, Chelsea, Arsenal. That's a hard top 8 to break into and stay in there all the time. So look, I'm pretty happy as long as we qualify, which means now we move on to the knockouts. Where we faced off against Leon, we ended up beating them 2-1 in the first leg. In the second leg, we ended up smashing them 4-1 to take us to the round of 16. Beat them 6-2. Where we faced off against Real Madrid and they smashed us 3-0 in the first leg at home. But Real Madrid unfortunately weren't done with the smash and they ended up obliterating us 5-0 at the Bernabeu. Look, I understand, look, this is Real Madrid and like the team that they have is absolutely disgusting. I don't expect look, we're not at Real Madrid's level yet. If I'm just being honest, look, I know we spent a decent amount of money in the summer, but we're not at Real Madrid's level yet. Their team is absolutely disgusting. It's not even getting the defeat. It's just how we lost. Like, we get beat 8-0, didn't fucking score a goal. We just didn't have good performances. I'm more upset at like how we lost than actually losing. I feel like we should have done a little bit better here. And I know people are going to be like, Mark, you've done very, very well with Parma, getting them to where they are in 4 seasons. I am. Look, I'm very, very happy. I hate really, really bad performances. Like, I'm the same as you. Look, we all play this game and you get frustrated. Like, there's a few games, like, we got the cup final. I would have liked to win it. Just a more fight against Real Madrid. If we would have went out like 8-4, I'd have been happy. Look, I'd have been a little disappointed we conceded 8 goals, but then at least we put up a fight and scored 4 goals against Real Madrid. But look, we made it to the round. We were just also unlucky to get Real Madrid in the round of 16. I went and looked at the other teams. Yeah, we should have got like a little bit of a smaller team, but look, it is what it is. With regards to player performances, Paulson, our new keeper, 51 games started, 74 goals conceded is a little much, but then he had 12 clean sheets. Then Big Carboni, 41 games started, 1 goal, 2 assists. The assistant manager seemed to favour Giovanni Giannoble. This is one I actually forgot to show you. I loaned in for the season. He had 24 games started, 20 off the bench, 1 goal, 2 assists. He also had a clause in our loan deal for 8 million. I have activated this. He wants to come and sign for the club. I noticed this. The scouts, and found this young man. Look, 6'2", strong on one foot, very strong with the other foot. He's Italian. He's only 18 years old. Look, a lot of really, really good stats. Really good in the air. Obviously, look, he's more of like a sort of like a wee bit of a no-nonsense centre back, but he's phenomenal in the air. And look, he's only 18 years old, and we get him for 8 million. So look, this is one obviously for the future, but like, says the manager seemed to favour him quite a lot. Our centre backs seem to get quite a decent amount of rotation because Tanguy Nianzou, 23 games started, 21 off the bench, and then 1 assist. Then of course Sir Carte played 35 games, 3 off the bench, 2 goals, 6 assists. So like I said, all the centre backs got a really, really good, decent amount of rotation. Then at left back, Pellegrini started 42 games with 11 assists. This was the one I was interested to see how our young right back fared this season. 49 games started, 5 goals, 21 assists. I think most of our play ends up going down the right hand side because obviously our right back last year as well got a lot of assists, and then the year before he did pretty well as well. So like, we seem to probably favour down the right hand side a little more. Of course, Big Sangari, our summer signing, 44 games started, 5 goals, 8 assists. Not bad for a DM. Then Big Fabian, 45 games played, 15 goals, 8 assists. Look how good he is now. Like I said, if you really want a player that's kind of close to Fertesi that plays for Inter, I highly recommend going and getting Fabian. You get him reasonably cheap, and he's an absolute animal. He's very, very good all round. Then young Esposito out on the left hand side, 48 games played, 15 goals, 8 assists. Nketiah played 38 games, 9 goals, 10 assists. He also got a very, very bad injury. As you can see up here, he is out for the next 4 to 7 months with a broken lower leg, so this is a little unfortunate. Honestly, it probably didn't help us losing against Real Madrid because he was injured as well. But look, this is a bad injury, which means we're probably not going to see him for a little bit, probably close to like Christmas time. Then the big man, he played 44 games, 26 goals, 6 assists, a really good season for him. And of course, the big man up top, Big Lorenzo, look, 49 games played, 39 goals, 11 assists. So 49 goal involvements in 49 games. So I think it's fair to say Big Lorenzo had a pretty good season. But all in all, boys, I'm very, very happy with where we've taken the team. I'm not going to lie, I'm thinking I may change the formation up a little bit. I feel like just this formation is very, very attacking. It's more the goals. I feel like the goals that we're leaking because we're playing very, very attacking. It's what's kind of making us lose the league a little bit. Because look, we've showed we can be competitive. We're always in and around the league, but we need that little push up a little bit. So I may change the formation up a little bit. Obviously, we have a lot of centre backs right now, so I'm not going to lie, I may switch to 5 at the back and play a little cheeky 5 at the back formation, but we'll just wait and see. All in all, really, really happy. Look, we stayed in Champions League football. We made it to the Italian Cup final. We made it to the Supercoppa semi-final. That was hard to spit out. And then obviously making it to the round of 16 and facing Real Madrid in the Champions League. So all in all, look, we just increase our reputation every year. And obviously, like I said, I keep asking the board to upgrade the training facilities, youth recruitment. I did ask them once again, like I said, to upgrade the stadium, but they said no. Obviously, the club doesn't have an absolute bucket load of cash. So they're probably more than going to say no every time I ask them. But I'm going to keep asking them. But all in all, boys, look, a very, very good season. Like I said, obviously at some point I want to win the league and do a wee bit better. I want to reach at least the semi-final of the Champions League, which would be nice. But boys, all in all, a really, really good season. Let's jump over into season 5. So boys, then moving over into season 5, we have had a few people go out the door. A few people you probably wouldn't expect to leave, but unfortunately bigger clubs came knocking, and we're only little Parma. But look, going into season 5, look, I want to do the same thing, stay in Champions League football and just do well. I feel like at some point, I think we're very, very close to being able to win the league. I really, really am. I've made a few changes to the tactic. We're staying with the same formation, but I've just kind of pulled things back a little bit. But first, let's jump over and look at the transfers. So one of the first people out the door was Wally. This was, I'm not going to lie, very, very disappointing because it's a player I've never played with. Yes, he costs us a little bit of money, but I kind of wanted to keep him around the club. He's only 24 years old. He was going to be our future of our inside forwards. He actually came to me and was like, I want to move to a stronger squad. And I was like, okay. And then we had PSG come in and offer for him originally before he said that. Yeah, they were offered 25 million. So I was a little worried because it was like, right, we paid like 80 million for him in total, like 45 up front, 80 million in total. Yeah, if we sell him for 25 million, that's a massive loss. Like, that's an unacceptable loss. Don't worry, boys. Chelsea came in and saved us. We got a total of 85 million for him. 65 million, working its way up to 85 million, as you can see. So we made a profit of 5 million. Look, it's one of those players I didn't really want to sell, but like, it's one of those ones. He wanted to go to a stronger squad. It's the Premiership. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm actually more surprised that we got him to begin with because he is very, very good in his database. Like, look how good he is. He's a potential world-class player. But it also didn't stop there with our really good players leaving, and the next one was Giovanni Fabian. You know, look, if you've watched my videos for a long time, you know how upset I am at this. I love Giovanni Fabian. He's one of my favorite wonder kids. Look, if I could buy him in every save and people wouldn't get bored of me buying Giovanni Fabian, I would buy him every single rebuild because he's amazing. You get him cheap. He's good all around. He's 6'3". He's physical, technical, mental skills are good. And like I said, he's just very, very good all around. So Bayern came knocking, and obviously, it's Bayern Munich. So we got a total of 60 million, working its way up to 80 million. Look, it's not bad for a player that we spent 12.5 million on, and we getting a total of 80 million. So like a massive profit. But unfortunately, once again, like Wally, another player I didn't want to sell. Then the next one at the door was Sebastiano Esposito. This is one I actually did have planned. I had someone I wanted to bring in, and yeah, we got a little money from Leon. 17.5 million, working its way up to 25 million, which I think all in all is a really, really good deal for a guy that we spent 5 million on. Look, it's not to do. He's a very, very good player. I just feel like we could just do a little bit better. Then the next one out the door was Durissimo. Look, at this point, it's just going to become a meme. Look, there was a couple of things here. Look, a very, very good player, but look, we were wanting to upgrade the squad and upgrade the team, make the team better. On top of that, he's also very, very injury prone. He doesn't enjoy the big games. He's very, very one-footed. He's not going to get any better. And look, we had Marseille come in and give us a total of 13 million, working its way up to 16 million. Look, for a player that we spent 6 million on, getting a massive profit, which is a fantastic thing, because if you're selling off squad players for double what you paid for them, I would consider that some very, very good business. But obviously, we had to replace some people in the squad. So one of the first people I brought in, this was more just a wee bit of sort of like a wee bit more squad depth at the back. It's going to be Matteo Viti. Obviously, we've got rid of some Italian players, so we need to replace him. Look, we bought him for a total of 1.8 million. Look, I know he's not phenomenal, but he's 6'3", good mentality, he's consistent, he's Italian. He's still only 25, and we got him for less than 2 million. Like I said, really, really good squad depth. And the next one I brought in is obviously going to be a wonder kid for the future, is Siri Cerny. We paid a total of 5 million for him. Look, he has a bunch of really, really good attributes. One, really, really good mentality. A little inconsistent, but look, it is, but he's going to be a really, really good squad player. Look, 17 first touch, 17 passing. Technique is good. Mental stats are good. Physical stats are also good, and for all the money that we paid for him, it's not really much risk, and he's going to help out with the squad, because that's one thing we did have last year, which is, look, we have a good first team, but then our quality and squad depth is not fantastic, so it's something I kind of wanted to upgrade a little bit. Then the next one I brought in is going to be a Geraldo. Obviously, a lot of these young players are going to sit in the under 21s, or I'm going to loan them out. This guy is Brazilian, so obviously, look, I don't know if we're going to be able to register him in the first team. I would like to, but we'll just wait and see. But a few things jumped out. One, 19 years old, Brazilian. We paid a total of 6 million, had a release clause, obviously, but he is also 6'6", has a really good mentality. He's super consistent. He can play with both feet. 16 first touch, 16 passing, 16 technique, 17 determination. Mental stats are very, very good. Physical stats, not the fastest player in the world, but look, you don't need to be super quick to be a good player. And like I said, he's got that physicality of being 6'6", something I want to bring back into the team. And the next one is another Brazilian. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Look, if you want to do well in Football Manager, play in a league where you can register a bunch of Argentinian and Brazilian players and just search for them. When you get to like season 4, season 5 in FM, you can get a bunch of really, really good Brazilian, Argentinian players, like, for really good money. We paid a total of 7 million for him. Once again, had a release clause. Look, this guy, 19 years old, a little centre back, but he can play in the DM. He can also play in the centre of the park. Another one that's 6'6". He's a left footer, really good mentality. Physical stats, look, not the fastest in the world, but look, 6'6" with 15 jump on each, 15 heading, 17 agility, 14 balance, 16 natural fitness, 16 stamina, 13 for strength, 18 determination, and look, 14 tackling. Mental stats are pretty decent. Another one gonna help bolster out the squad, but I feel like down the line this could be a player that maybe gets into the first team. Then the next one I brought in is gonna be Luka Toplahovic. This is once again another one that's gonna be for squad depth, but he's also a very, very good player. Look, as you can see, could improve significantly. Probably thinking, Mark, he's got a good mentality, he's consistent, he's very, very good all around, probably costs us a lot of money. Nope, costs us a total of 12 million. Inter was looking rid of him, so I swooped in and got rid of him. Another thing, 6'2", can play with both feet. Physical stats are very, very good. Mental stats are good. Technical stats are good. And yeah, for 12 million, a really good player. Then the next one the next one in the door, Joel Pontes. This is going to be our Giovanni Fabian replacement. Obviously, look, not just as good as him yet, but look, has a ton of potential. Also, we didn't have to pay a ton of money for him. 15, we get rid of Fabian for 80 million. Paid 15 for him. 6'3", can play with both feet, got a good mentality, is super consistent, 16 finishing, 15 first touch, 15 passing, 16 technique, determination of flair are both 16, posure of 15, bravery of 16, anticipation of 14, aggression of 14, good balance, can play with both feet, and for 15 million, look, I honestly think this is probably one of the best players we've probably brought in, and I feel like once his physical stats comes up a wee bit, because he's only just turned 19, yeah, I think he's going to be very good. Then the next one I brought in, and obviously where we're going to need to replace Esposito, and I did that with Keenan Yediz. One, we didn't have to pay that much money for him, a total of 25 million. Look, this is a weird one, because he went to Juventus, went to Besiktas, went to Fenerbahce, and then he had a release clause of 25.5 million, and he was upset he's spaghetti, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to take him. Because one, he's a lot better than Esposito, a lot more physical, better speed. He's 6'1", he can play with both feet, good mentality. He's also played in Italy, so for a long time. So he's also an Italian citizen, so it's going to help with registration. And like I said, for 25.5 million, I think this is a really, really good signing. So we do also have one more player coming in, and it's going to be Francisco Camarda. Obviously, we're going to need an inside forward to replace for Wally. Yeah, and then Ekatike is also injured, so I have brought somebody else in. But Camarda, because the Wally transfer took so long right up to the transfer window, I didn't have the cash currently to get Camarda, so as you can see, I'm agreeing the fee. It's going to be 32 million, which I think is an absolute steal. He's 19, he's Italian, explosive, 6'3", really, really good all round, and like I said, it's a perfect replacement. I feel, like I said, we get rid of Wally for 85 million, replace him with somebody that costs 32 million, so less than half of that, and I think a really, really good player for the future. And like I said, look over here, I don't need to explain anymore how good the kid is. He's unreal. But like I said, I did actually bring somebody else on loan, because obviously with Ekatike being out for, like, he's going to be out for at least another 3 or 4 months. We're probably not going to get him back till like the end of January or February. I need someone to play in the advanced forward role, and that person is Gaz Brade. I is currently in on loan for the season. Obviously, I didn't want to buy anybody because we have Ekatike there, so I don't want to replace him. This guy in on loan, Really, really good player. Got him from Arsenal. He's costing us a total of 1.1 million for the whole season, which is an absolute steal. No optional fee, because obviously he plays for Arsenal. He's not going to want to leave Arsenal and come to us, and even if he does, he's going to cost me the guts of anywhere from 70 to like 19 million. Really, really good player. Would love to have him in the team. Good mentality, super quick, really, really good all around. Mental stats are fantastic. The perfect like advanced forward. Yeah, expect him to score a lot of goals for us. Him and Big Luke up top are going to be absolutely disgusting. But I did also bring one other person in, and this is to play right back. Look, the wee guy we've got playing right back is not a traditional right back, so I want to bring somebody else in. I brought in Hector Ford once again in on loan for the season from Barcelona. It does have a 27 million optional fee. Don't really think I'm going to activate this, but I know he's a very, very good player. 6'1", really physical, good mentality, super consistent. He's only 21 years old, and like I said, just going to fill in that right back role and obviously give also a wee bit of squad depth too. So then pushing over into the fifth season, I couldn't spit that out for a second. Person in nets. This is a position I may look to kind of sort of change a little bit. Look, still a really, really good keeper, a good Serie A keeper, but I would like to try and find somebody to bring in a little younger. Right, so here's a wee thing for you. There was a wee keeper I was looking at years ago. He looked really, really good. I had him on my shortlist. Could not get him to come to us, and then Barcelona obviously signed him. Do you want to see how good he is now? And they were looking like anywhere from like £500,000 to like £1 million for him. Yeah, this is him. He's worth 61 million now. So yeah, like I said, I had him on my shortlist. He was at this club or whoever the hell they are in Colombia. Yeah, Barcelona bought him for 600,000. If I would have even paid $1 million for him, look how good he is. 6'2", can play at both feet. Really, really good mentality. Aerial reach, communication, handling, kicking, one-on-ones, reflexes are all fantastic things you really want with a keeper. Anticipation, bravery, concentration, decision-making, determination are all very, very high. He is honestly a potential world-class keeper, and I'm raging that I couldn't get him. The worst part is, see when Barcelona put in for him, I also put in for him too. I offered 850,000 and he rejected, said moving to us didn't feel like it was going to be the right move for his future, and then went to Barcelona, which I get. No, I mean, it's Barcelona, but like, really wish we could have got him in, because yeah, he's kind of good. So like I said, the keeper situation I'll probably look into at some point. Then obviously going to be Pellegrini and Fort as our two fullbacks, and then Carboni. Giannoble, this one, I'm honestly, like I said, I'm going to let this as a magic change. I feel like this kid has the potential to be absolutely disgusting, but obviously going to need a wee bit of time. And then Sangari and Pontus in the middle of the park. Keenan on one side. This one I'm going to leave open. It's more than likely going to be Cariastas. I did forget to show you this. This is one we brought in on an approach to sign last year, as you can see, completely on a free. This was one, honestly, I just felt like he can play with both feet. He can play in a lot of positions. He's still very, very young. He's also free, and I thought it'd be stupid not to go and get him. So he'll probably fill in on this side for probably until Ekatike comes back. Like I said, Keenan on the other side, Brady up top, Luca as the pressing forward, because Brady, unfortunately, in his contract for the thing, he has to play as the advanced forward. And honestly, Luca can play as a pressing forward. Pressing forwards are really good. I was going to change this to a target forward. We'll kind of just see how we get on. The only things I've changed with the formation is I put Fort as a complete wing back on support. I put this as a DM, just to sort of balance things out a little bit. And then, like I said, I changed the mentality from attacking down to balanced. I feel like we're going forward too much, and our back line isn't good enough to sort of deal with that. So like, we're scoring 3 and 4 goals, but then we're conceding 5, which is, I don't want us to do. I would rather get a draw out of that match, go like a fucking 2-each draw, instead of just conceding 5 goals. So I've sort of honed it down a little bit. Obviously, we'll reevaluate this as the season goes on and just see how the boys are getting on. But I feel like just honing it down a wee bit, because like I said, our backline's not world class. It's really not. So obviously it's going to be a little harder to deal with us being attacking. Our front line is very, very good. Midfield is good. But I want us to play more of like a wee unit. So I've dropped it down to balance. We'll see how we get on. But all in all, look, I'm very, very happy with the team. It is unfortunate, like I said, especially losing Fabian. I didn't want to sell him, but like, Pontus has the potential to be very, very good. But does this mean it kind of weakens us a little bit? I feel in all, our squad's probably just as strong as it is. Obviously, if we had Ekatike in here filling in for Wally, or Camarda was actually here, I'd say our squad's just as good. But I'm really happy. Once again, like I said, I feel like Champions League football is our goal this season. I would like to win the league at some point. Would be nice. Do a little better in a cup and just keep doing what we're doing in the Champions League. Look, we were unfortunate last year, got Real Madrid, got absolutely slapped. Would like to play them again this year, just to see if we can either beat them or just be a wee bit more competitive against them. Look, I'm always looking to try new things. I want to sort of get a wee bit of revenge on them, so to speak, but I don't know if it's a good idea going out to hunt down Real Madrid, because yeah, their team's pretty good. But like I said, obviously if there's anybody in January on the approach of signs, you'll see them in the summer and stuff. But I feel like this is the year, boys, we maybe get a wee player from the youth intake. But all in all, look, we've built a very, very good team. But that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 5. So boys, we've made it to January and there is actually a few changes in the team. Obviously we have Camarda coming in with the already arranged transfer, but yeah, we had a few people go out the door. Yeah, the first one was Eddie Nketiah, so we got him back for about a month, and then he wanted to leave. So the Saudi League came in, offers a little bit of cash. I said no because I wanted to keep him. We'd already lost Wally. I didn't want to lose our other inside forward in the space of one season. Yeah, he was not very happy. So unfortunately, we ended up making a loss on this, which is a little disappointing. It's not too often like big players I actually lose money. So as you can see, we bought him for 80. They ended up going for 60. It's all the money we could get for him. He was upset. He was pissing off the whole team. The whole team was like, why are you not letting him go? That's what they all sounded like. So we ended up letting him go. Look, we got 60 million back. More disappointed in the fact that he wanted to leave than the money. But don't worry, boys. The disappointment doesn't end there. We also lost Lorenzo Luca. Yeah, he wanted to go to AC Milan. Which I understand. Look, we're fighting for the title. We're doing really, really well. We're always up there. I know AC Milan's a big team. Obviously, reputation means everything in Football Manager. They have like a 4.5, like 5-star reputation, where we don't. But we did get some decent cash for him, at least. So look, we bought Lorenzo Luca for 15 million, released him for 40, working its way up to 60. Look, it's one once again I didn't want to fucking lose. Love Lorenzo Luca. He's still only 27, an absolute unit at 6'7". He's also Italian, but look, at least we made a good profit. In the Premiership, yeah, still one of our other players. Yeah, Alessandro Sacarte. Yeah, he wanted to leave to go to the Premiership. Got a total of 10.7 million. To be honest, he's not really already worth that much. So in this transfer window, we made like what, 130 million. But the fun didn't stop there. We also lost a keeper. Look, this was one position we already talked about that I was happy enough to sort of replace. Look, the Saudi League came in and offered for him. They offered 10.7 million, working its way up to 13.7. We paid 4.3 million. Look, we're pretty much double, near triple on our money. So yeah, I'm not upset about this one, but just didn't really want it to happen in January, along with losing Nketiah and our other players. So not the best timing. So then obviously we were going to need a keeper, so I went and got this young guy, Nestor Sala. I'm not going to lie to you, even on the loan list for keepers was very, very limited. So yeah, we ended up getting this young guy. Look, I think he's got a ton of potential. He's only 19, Argentinian. We paid a total of 6.5 million for him. That was his release clause. Look, he's got a lot of potential. 6'3", little one-footed, but that's okay. But he's got a fantastic mentality. One-on-ones of 16, area, command in the area 15, communication of 14, aerial reach of 14, determination of fucking 17, agility and balance are both 16 and 14, good jump on reach, good reflexes, good tendency to punch, but all in all, a really, really good keeper. And look, honestly, joking aside, he's probably a better keeper than Posen. And then obviously I was shopping around for a striker because we lost Lorenzo Luca, and honestly, so I was going to get Scamacca because he was worth 28 to 32 million. Yeah, try and guess how much Atalanta wanted for a player that was worth 28 to 32 million. 94 million, which I understand. It's January. Like I said, it's not a great time to lose players. So I went and got this young guy, Alberto Siana. Look, got a little potential. This is one, he's going to be like more likely a squad player. But look, we didn't pay a ton of money for him. A total of 6 million. If this would click. Italian, 19, 6'2", got a really, really good mentality, pretty good all round. And look, over here, he's very Esposito-esque. Don't know, obviously, how much potential he's going to have. It says he's only able to get like another star. We'll just wait and see. Look, for 6 million to have a good squad player, I'm happy enough with that. And he's also Italian, so it helps with registration. Then I also found this young guy, Iamata, another one, 18 years old. He's Italian, 6'2", really, really good in the air, good finishing, good first touch, amazing heading, good technique, fantastic mentality. He has a ton of potential. Look, if he gets 4-star and he gets another like 1.5 to maybe 2 stars better than this, we've got a really, really good player in our hands. Obviously, look, our options are very, very limited. If we go and buy somebody big, we're going to get our pants pulled down. Hence the Scamacca thing. I even went to the loan list to see what strikers were available on loan just to do for the season. There's not a lot. And obviously, look, we have a decent amount of money still left over. I've got a total of 52 million. But I'm not just going to go out and spend that and get my pants pulled down for the price of a player that's kind of okay. I don't want to pay an extra 20 or 30 million for somebody just because it's January. So boys, we've now reached the end of season 5. Our youth intake was, it actually wasn't too bad. It was 2.5 star, which isn't great, but it's better than it was. Obviously, we've had a lot of changes between the summer and January transfer window. The team has changed quite a lot. So yeah, it can either go both ways. It can go we could play fantastic. The rest of the new players can gel well together, or things can just go fucking sideways. So, see how we did in the league. So we started the season off really, really strong. We ended up beating Inter 4-2, then smashed Lazio 4-1. We then drew Juventus 2 each. We then took our first defeat of the season, getting beat 2-1 by AC Milan. But like I said, it shows now that we are up there with the big boys. Like, every game we play against the big teams can go either way, and like generally we seem to be winning a vast majority of those. We then beat Napoli 2-1, beat Lazio 2-0, and then near the end of the season we also got a revenge in AC Milan, beating them 1-0. So with all those results, boys, we won the league. Look, we have been close for a couple of seasons now. The weird thing is, we did win the league, but we don't have anybody in the top goal scorers, which is strange. Obviously, Lorenzo Luca going to AC Milan in January probably didn't really help this, but we seem to have done pretty well without him. Look, I didn't want to lose him, but look, the money was just too good and he wanted to go. We played 38 games. We won 30 games. 4 draws against Venezia, which I would have liked to win, to be honest. Roma, for Fiorentina and Juventus, those games can go anyway. Our 4 losses: Girona, we should be winning. Bologna, we should be winning. Juventus and AC Milan, once again, can go anyway. We had 71 goal difference, highest in the league, finishing on 94 points. This was very, very close, because obviously I come back in January to see if there's anybody in approach of science, and then I come back in April to see if our youth intake was good, or there's anybody good with regards to signing from youth teams. Yeah, this was close the whole way through the season. Like, no joke, like there was a couple of points in it between us and Roma. Roma kind of fell off at the end of the season. I don't know if they had like a bad end of the season, or is their schedule? Yeah, they did. That's why, because they ended up getting beat by us. But all that counts is that we have won the league. And look, it took us 5 seasons, but look, we were just, we honestly, this save started off absolutely fire. Like, we finished pretty high up the table in our first season, and then we just kept climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. A couple seasons, we were just like a point behind, and we knew we were right there. We knew we were right there. Obviously, changing the tactic a little bit, I think, helped. Like I said, I feel like defensively, we're good enough. But like, I just don't feel like we're good enough to play a 4-2-4. I just felt like we were just leaking too many goals. So me putting it down to balanced seems to have worked out pretty well. Obviously changed a few of the positions and it seemed to work out pretty well. But look, nobody in the top goal scorers. Like I said, Lorenzo Luca probably would have been in here if he would have stayed. But we do have our new striker, Amita and Camarda, both in there for average ratings. Kenan Yediz is also in there for assists. We have Hector Fort and Tanguy Nianzou in there for yellow cards. Nobody in here for clean sheets. But once again, we also have a brand new keeper, because our keeper left in January. And then player of the matches. Overall stats, most points is us at 2.47. Then we scored 111 goals. Juventus scored 102. So fair play to them. Obviously, Dusan Vlahovic is still very, very good in the game. But us scoring 111 goals is wild. We had the most shots for by 100. Fewest shots against. We're down there in 4th. I'm pretty happy with that. Most clean sheets. We're joint 5th, which is pretty good. Fewest conceded. We are joint 4th. We conceded 40 goals and scored 111. This is way better. This is what I wanted. Look, we need to knock the goals down a wee bit, but also scoring a wee bit more has also helped us too. Look, all season 5, boys, fucking league in the bag eventually. This is so good to see up here. And look, this is the thing. Italy is competitive. Obviously, the Premiership is like the hardest league because there's so many competitive teams. But the Italian league is very, very competitive. As you can see, Napoli, AC Milan, Roma, AC Milan, and now us. And then God knows probably another. The only team that I feel like haven't really performed as well as they should be is Inter, but I do know they sold a lot of players. Lautaro Martinez now plays for PSG. I've seen that in the Champions League. But apart from that, boys, I'm super happy to eventually get this in the bag, because I feel like our team is very, very good. And like I said, just a few changes that are in and around the team. And obviously with the amount of people going out the door and coming in the door, I was very skeptical about how well we were going to do this year, because like, it's hard enough sometimes in the summer losing a lot of big players, but then losing big players in January is an absolute pain in the ass. And then like I said, in January you don't want to go and buy too many players, because you are going to get your pants pulled down for the price. I did want to bring Skamaka in, but I wasn't paying double the price of what he was worth. But boys, the league in the bag, let's go see how we did in the cups. So we started things off in the Supercoppa semi-final where we beat Roma 2-1, which is a good result because Roma have been playing pretty well the last couple of seasons. But that means, boys, we go to the final. We faced off against AC Milan. They started off with scoring, which wasn't great for us. 10 minutes later, they made it 2-0. Terrible defending from us. Look, we weren't going to be counted out. We got one back through Camarda. Lorenzo Luca then made it 2 each. Camarda then made it 3-2 to us to lift the cup, boys. And boys, that means another piece of silverware in the bag. Look, I don't know how important the Super Cup is. Look, I'm always honest. Look, I don't know every competition in every league, in every game. Look, I have the memory of a goldfish. There's only so much space in here, and most of it's filled up with how to cook chicken. But look, us getting the league in the bag after 5 seasons is absolutely fantastic. And then also winning the Super Coppa again, because we did win it in the 3rd season. I think we won it as well, and also beating AC Milan, because AC Milan have been giving us a wee bit of a torrid time over the last couple of seasons. But that's the difference. We've just been getting better and better and better every season, just creeping up every season, buying new players and better players at each position. And that's what you've got to do. Just keep improving. Obviously, like I said, we've lost a lot of big players, but this is fantastic to get this in the bag. I also noticed they have Victor Roque and Mason Mount. Where did that come from? So that then takes us over into the Italian Cup. We started things off in the 3rd round against Como, who have been banned a ridiculous amount of players in real life. So interesting to see how well they do this year, but we beat them 2-1 in the 3rd round. In the quarterfinals, we faced off against Juventus. We beat them 3-2. Then moved us on to the semi-final first leg against AC Milan. We beat them 1-0. Then in the second leg at home, we beat them again, beating them 2-1. So it means we go through to the final 3-1 in aggregate, where we faced off against Roma, a team that's been pretty hard to beat in the last couple of seasons, but we started off the scoring through a new striker, Amita. They hit back pretty much straight away through Van Bommel. 4 minutes later, we got another one through Camarda. In the 31st minute, they made it 2 each. Take us to extra time, where they actually started off the scoring through Van Bommel again, who is disgusted in this. We hit back in the 116th minute, and in the 120th minute, Big Singare got the goal for us to win the cup, boys. So boys, after all that, look, a hard fought game against a really, really good team. Like, they do have a good team. Like, they have Kone, they have Bove, a player I did try to buy a couple seasons ago, but we just didn't have the cash at the time, and he didn't want to leave to come to us, because obviously we weren't a good team yet. But yeah, they have Ruben Van Bommel and Dubrovrak as their 2 strikers. They are very, very difficult to put away, because they can just score at any point. But getting another cup, that means the league's in the bag, Super Coppa is in the bag, and the Italian Cup is in the bag, which means, boys, we move on to the Champions League, where things didn't start off too well in the league phase. Newcastle beat us 2-1, but they do have a good team. But like I always say, the best way to come back from a defeat is to go and clap the cheeks off somebody else, and we did that against Dynamo Zagreb. We beat them 4-0. We then also beat Leipzig 3-1. We then also got a fantastic win over Bayern, beating them 3-2. Then we somehow managed to draw 1 each with Bodo Glimt. But we did bounce back again. We ended up smashing Sparta Prague 4-0. And and Gaz Brady, the wee guy on loan from Arsenal, got himself 4 goals. We then also smashed Juventus 3-1. And in our final league phase match, we played against PSG. They ended up beating us 4-2. This is how I knew Lautaro Martinez played for them. Yeah, they also have Edward Camavinga. As if their team's not good enough, they have a world-class striker and now another world-class midfielder. So yeah, honestly, a 4-2 against Demons, I'm pretty happy with this. But in the league phase, we ended up finishing in 8th place. Look, once again, very, very happy with this. It doesn't matter what happens going forward from here. Look, we've shown that we are good in the league, good in the cups, and we're now a good competitive Champions League team. Obviously, haven't made it anywhere near the final, but look, we've done pretty well for Parma. So obviously, with us finishing in the top 8, we missed the knockouts, which is fantastic, and go straight to the round of 16, where we faced off against Borussia Dortmund, beating them 2-1. In the second leg, it didn't change any, it wasn't any different. We beat them 2-1 again, so we go through to the quarterfinals, 4-2 in aggregate, and face off against their old nemesis, Real Madrid, where I did say I wanted to face off against them at some point again, just to see the difference in our team. Did they have Lisandro Martinez? Hold on, when did they get him? Hold on, how much did they pay? 46.5 million is actually really good. Martinez is very, very good in this game. But yeah, I said I wanted to face off against them again just to see the difference in our squad this season. But they did beat us 2-0 in the first leg, which meant going into the second leg, we had our work cut out for. If you remember the first time this happened, Real Madrid beat us 5-0 in the second leg, but they did start off the scoring. We hit back pretty much straight away through young Keenan Yadiz. They got another one back with some terrible defending from us. Honestly, bad keeping too. But we weren't done there. We got another one in the 67th minute through young Soldado with bad defending from them. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. But look, we've showed, like I said, the first time we played Real Madrid last year, they beat us 2-0 in the first leg, which happened once again. And then, like I said, the second leg, they smashed us 5-0. So the fact that we put up a good fight against Real Madrid, 2 each, I'm very, very happy with this. Obviously, if the first leg would have been a little closer, like maybe like a 1-0, this would have looked a lot better. Obviously, getting beat 4-2 by Real Madrid in your Parma is not a bad thing. We've had a phenomenal season. Won the league, won the Super Coppa, won the Italian Cup, and made it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, boys. It doesn't matter if we would have got absolutely obliterated by Real Madrid. I'm taking the positives in this. A very, very good season. So then jumping over into the player performances, our young keeper, Nestor Salah. Did 28 games. Obviously, we only brought him in January. Conceded 34, but 8 clean sheets. Look, one of those ones starting to progress. Look, he's only just turned 20 years old. I honestly believe this keeper's going to be very, very good. Of course, then Big Carboni played 44 games, 3 goals, 6 assists. Our young Italian centre-back, Gian Noble, played 27 games, no goals, 1 assist. Then our young Brazilian centre-back, Vieira, I was going to call him Pablo there, but Pablo is his name, but look, it's Vieira. Okay? And of course, our young Pablo Vieira, our Italian, he's fucking Brazilian centre-back, played 22 games, 27 off the bench, which is exactly what I wanted. I just wanted him to get some football. He also looks fantastic, by the way. He got 1 goal, 5 assists. Who wants him? Valencia, you're not getting him. Physical stats are looking very, very good. Then Big Tanguy Nianzou played 34 games, 16 off the bench, 4 goals, 2 assists. This is what I like. We have 4 or 5 really, really good centre backs, and they all seem to get rotation, which is exactly what I want. And of course, Big Sangari in the middle of the park, 34 games, started 9 off the bench, 5 goals, 6 assists. I also noticed that he is wanted by the Saudi League. If there was ever a time to probably cash in on him, it's probably now. He's turned 30, going to be 31 this year. I don't think you're going to get your money back. Obviously, we paid like 45, 60 million for him in total, which honestly, he's helped our team out so much because he's just an absolute unit in the middle of the park. But like I said, if you're ever going to cash in on him, I'd probably do it now, unless you want to keep him, and that's perfectly fine because he's still very, very good. Then young Joel Pontes in the middle of the park. Don't worry, all the downward arrows. He just came back from an injury there, but he played 57 games this season, 10 goals, 7 assists. Very, very good. Look, only in his second season, only just turned 19. And look, this is honestly the future of the midfield. And like I said, he's also 6'3" as well, so he's a big unit of a boy. Then one I would absolutely love to bring into the team is Gaz Brady. So I did go and ask his agent would it be interested in signing. He is very, very interested in signing. So if you were to take this save on, you are going to have a player that's interested. Obviously, his values, it's up there. Like, it is up there. You have about 62 million left in the transfer kitty, so you could probably wrangle a deal, say 50 million up front and then like another 50 million in installments, because I think it's probably going to take you about 90 to 100 million to bring him in. But the opportunity is there. If you do want to bring him in, he is going to be a world-class player. Look, could improve significantly. He probably is going to hit 5-star. He probably will be a world-class player. And yeah, he played 36 games for us, 12 off the bench, had a couple of injuries, 23 goals and 3 assists. But yeah, very good season from him. And Kenyan Yedi's probably one of the stars of the team this year, had a very, very good season. 44 games played, 20 goals, 25 assists. So 45 goal involvements in 44 games. So Kenyan Yedi's, round of applause, big man. Then, of course, our new young striker, Ian Mata, I did actually lock him in January just to make sure he would get a wee bit of football. Played 23 games, 17 goals and 5 assists, had a 7.3. Obviously, only played half of the season because we brought him in January. But look, I think he has the potential to be very, very good. He already has the aerial, the technical, and the attacking skills, and like he has the potential to be. I would say he's probably a 4-star player. I don't think he's going to be as good as Gaz Brady, but he's going to be up there. And like I said, you know my love for big physical players that are really good in the air, and this kid has done fantastic. Then, of course, young Camarda is now the focal point of our team, with obviously Lorenzo Luca going to AC Milan. Played 28 games, once again had a couple of knocks, which was unfortunate. 25 goals, 3 assists and a 7.4 for the season. Obviously, he can improve probably a little bit. Don't know. I'm not too sure if he would get the 5-star. He's probably, let's be honest, he's probably a world-class player at this point because he looks ridiculous. One player I also noticed, and it's completely off topic, is Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. is in this database. Obviously, the database, the corner routine, the tactic, and the save file will all be in the pinned comments for you to go and check out. But yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. is on an approach to sign. I don't think he wants to sign for us just yet, but you could try in the summer again. Yeah, he looks disgusting. So yeah, this is what he looks like right now. And like, he's only 17 years old. Like I said, he's on an approach to sign. I think I hit this before. He had no interest. So I would reevaluate. He's on the short list. I would keep him in there and then come back in the summer and see if anybody's. I know Arsenal are interested in him. Another thing you could do is go and just buy him, because if you go in and ask his agent, he's not currently interested in signing. So like I said, I will come back to this in the summer. But look, he looks very, very good. 5'11", some technical stats and mental stats are looking 17 composure, determination is good, flair is good. Like, yeah, his physical stats, absolute fly machine. Little inconsistent, but like I said, he's only just turned 17. This could probably change with time. Really, really good mentality and could improve a lot. Yeah, this is the first time I've seen Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. be this good, obviously, on a different database. So, yeah, I will keep a wee eye out for him. I also just noticed I completely skipped our fullbacks. So, Luca Pellegrini played 45 games, 2 goals, 15 assists. So, once again, very, very good signing. He's also 29, so at some point we're probably going to need a wee bit of a replacement. But, I think I found that. Then, of course, the young man on the other side, young Hector Fort, played 37 games, 3 goals and 11 assists. He's another one you do have the option to buy once again. I think as far as I know, yeah, 27 million. So he's one, if you would like to keep him in your team, you've got the money sitting there. And Hector Ford is a very, very good fullback in this game. He's also 6'1", so he keeps that physicality in the team too. But yeah, all in all, we've had an absolutely amazing season. There is some very, very exciting young players at this club. And I've also brought a few people in. Obviously, between January, we had a lot of cash. And then there was a few players that I was interested in on the approach of signs. So I'll show you them now. One of the guys I brought in, he's costing, oh, dude, the money so much. 2.9 million he's costing us, because he has a value for a release clause. Is this young guy? I'm not even gonna fucking try and print it. Fuck it, we're gonna try it. Right, hold on, boys. Hold on. Koshawarski. Obviously, young Polish centre back. Look, he's only just turned 18 years old. A good mentality, consistent, 6 foot, can play with both feet. Look, anticipation of 14, bravery of 17, 13 composure, 14 decisions, 15 determination, 16 leadership, which is perfect. For me personally, I like to always have my centre backs and my keeper as my captain. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm probably going to put a poll up on this. Who do you always make as your captain? Obviously, you always try and go for the person that's got the best leadership skills, but I try and find best leadership skills, but like in the defensive area of the team. I don't know why I've always done that. Look, does it make sense? Probably not, but look, I do it anyway. But he also has really, really good tackling, good marking, good heading. Physical stats are insane. Already is 14 strength. So yeah, I brought him in for 2.9 million. You're going to get him in the summer when you take the save over. I also brought this guy in as well, Vasco Zaragoritis. This is going to be your backup as a left back, because obviously we only really have one left back in Pellegrini, and you can't expect him to play all the time. This guy was on an approach of science, so you're going to get him for absolutely nothing, which is fantastic. He's very, very good all round. He's only 27 years old. He's super consistent, enjoys the big games, got a good mentality, and like I said, for free, a really good signing. And he also brought this young guy in, Clement Colombo. My plan was for this to be my new right back instead of playing Hector Ford. He did cost us a wee bit of money. He's going to cost us a total of about 19 million. But once again, like I said, I'm trying to keep as many good Italian players in the club. I'm not going to lie, it's difficult because it's kind of like the Premiership a little bit. All the really, really good young Italian players all play for AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus. No, I mean, they're already at really, really good Italian clubs, which makes sense because, you know, we're in Italy. But like, I brought this guy in. Obviously, look, if you want to bring in your own right back, that's perfectly fine. But I feel like this guy would be an absolute monster of a right back. He can dribble, he can first touch. His physical stats are insane. He can play with both feet. He's got a good mentality. He's only just turned 19. He's Italian. Mental stats are insane. 16 anticipation, 14 composure, 14 concentration, 17 decision making, 17 determination, 15 flair, 15 leadership. So another captain material already in the team. That my thinking behind why I brought this guy into play right back is he's 5'8". Little hard to play in the middle of the park when you're that short. So I thought, right, really, really good stats. Really, really good physical. He can dribble. His first touch, I would probably work on his crossing. That would be about the only thing I'll probably work on. But I don't think you're going to get his crossing up that much because you're going to have to train him at right back. But if he plays at right back, you've got an absolute unit of a player on your team. And he's also Italian. And he could be a vice captain or a future captain. Then another one I brought in, which was on an approach to sign, is going to be young Lewis Millie. My thinking behind this was, look, Sangari is our only real sort of big unit of a fucking player in the middle of the park. Lewis Millie, free. Only 22 years old, 6'1". Physical stats are absolutely disgusting. Mental and technical stats are also disgusting. He also has room to could improve significantly. Good mentality, super consistent, and he was free. So if you ever decide, here, I'm going to move Sangari on, get maybe 40-50 million from the Saudi League, bring Lewis Millie in to replace him, and you've pretty much got a replacement that cost you nothing, and then you go and make a profit on Sangari. Or you just play both of them and you've got rotation. Then another one I brought in is young Luke Young. This is another one, had a buyer clause, as you can see, 3.8 million there. Yeah, fucking disgusting is what I would class this guy as. Honestly, like, only just turned 18 years old, 3.8 million. He has some crazy good stats. He's also got a good mentality. He's also consistent. He's got 16 finishing, 17 first touch, 14 free kick taken, 14 passing, 16 tackling. His mental stats are insane for someone at 18 years old. 16 anticipation, 17 composure, 13 decisions, 15 determination, 16 flair. Another one, 16 off the ball, 13 leadership. So, and could be a future vice captain. Again, teamwork is good. Physical stats are really good. Look, not the fastest player in the world, but like I think with a little bit of time, he could be absolutely disgusting. Could probably play as like an inside forward, or it could be a backup to one of your strikers. But like, yeah, for 3.8 million, yeah, a pretty good signing. So that is all the ones that I've brought in. Obviously, like I said, the squad is going to be a lot deeper next year, and also the quality of the squad is going to be a lot deeper. And like I said, you still have a total of 64 million left over, so you have a lot of money to be able to do with what you want. And like I said, if you go into the under 18s and the under 21s, the under 21s is probably where all the good young players are, because I've moved them all up because they were too old now. As you can see, there's a bunch of really good young talented players in here. So when you take over the team, you're going to have a really good first team, and the first team is also very young as well. And then on top of that, you have a bunch of young talented players coming in. There is one player I would keep an eye on. I did try to sign him, but then he ended up accepting another contract. And it's this young guy, Gilberto Avila. So I tried to sign him in April, and then he basically signed a new contract. So you probably have to wait till the summer to get him. But he's a very cheap option, because obviously you're going to need an inside forward on the left-hand side unless you decide to keep Gaz Brady. But this was one, he had a release clause, I think it was like 3.8 million. I activated, he signed a new contract. I fucking no idea why. I give him really good money, but he's one. Good dribbling, good finishing, good first touch, passing's good, technique's good, mental stats are good, physical stats are good. He's still only valued at 4 to 6 million. And like I said, he's one you could bring in on the cheap on the left-hand side if you want to spend your money somewhere else. But he's one I would definitely keep an eye on, because, yeah, he's got the talent, super consistent, got a really good mentality, super cheap. And like I said, there is a plethora of young players, because obviously if you go into the scouting, go to the shortlist, I have like 4 fucking shortlists. Default is just a bunch of random people I was looking at the start of the game. You've got all the Italian boys, which is literally anybody that's Italian that I was keeping a wee eye on, just in case they either got shortlisted or had maybe an idea of bringing them in. Then you've got the Italian Wonder Kids, so all the best Italian Wonder Kids that I've found. And then you have the normal Wonder Kid shortlist, which is just all the rest of the kids from around the world that are all Wonder Kids. So you have a list. This list is pretty deep right now, I'm not gonna lie. The scouts have found us some absolute bangers. Also, I've been searching. I still really want to get this guy, Andres Guerre, but he's worth so much money. This is no the way they always say about that girl, the one that got away. This is our guy that got away. Because we could have had him for like 600,000. Of course, when I offer for him, Barcelona go in and fucking offer for him, and then it gets absolutely ruined. But like I said, there's a bunch of really good Wonder Kids on that Wonder Kid list. And like I said, the club financially is in a really good spot as well. That's one thing I always like to do with these saves. Give you a good team. I give you another good team there full of Wonder Kids, so you have a lot of really good players coming through the team. But financially, I try to keep the team as stable as possible. Because, like, I know a lot of people go out when they do rebuilds and just fucking buy everybody, and then the finances are missed. I try to make the entire club. I try to rebuild everything at the club. Staff, make the finances good, make the first team good, make the under 21s good. So, like, you have 2 good teams whenever you take the save over. And like I said, the save file, the corner routine, the updated database, and everything will be in the pinned comments down below if you use to go and download. But boys, this was a lot of fun. Parma's a team that we all wanted to see come back up and do well, and like I said, I think we've done pretty well. Our final season obviously was the golden egg. We did really well, winning the league, winning both of the cups, and then obviously making it to the quarterfinals against Real Madrid. And Real Madrid we give some good competition to in that second match. Like, obviously the first match we could beat 2-0, it is what it is, but then we give them a wee bit of competition that second match. Considering how good their team is in this game, it's absolutely wild. I have done a rebuild with Real Madrid. I know how good their team is. I won the Champions League 4 years out of the 5 years that I did a rebuild. Their team is disgusting. But boys, I'm so happy with how this went. Everybody who voted on the poll, because that's a huge thing. Look, I always put up on the community page and ask everybody what team do you want to see next, so I let yous be involved in there. And like, Parma won by about 58%. So yeah, a lot of you wanted to see this rebuild come through. But like I said, we've done pretty well. I'm going to stop rambling on, boys, but that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Only if you fucking want to on YouTube. Have yourselves a fantastic day.